On this episode of Still Loading, we go through the Dark Portal. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this new episode of the Still Loading podcast. I am your host, Josh Koval, and today on the show, it is actually episode 201 of the Still Loading podcast. This is the episode right after my big 200th episode. I hope you all enjoyed that. It was a different format, so hope you all don't hate me for it. but we're here with episode 201, and we are diving into the history of Warcraft. And we are going to be talking specifically about Warcraft 1 through 3. We might dabble a little bit into WoW, but we might not even get to Warcraft 3. We'll see where this takes us, how long we'll go. If we don't make it to Warcraft 3, it's just an excuse to come back together and do this all over again. But with me today are two returning guests, Jamie.
Heyo.
And Andrew.
How's it going?
You don't get their last names, okay? But they are here because they are my friends. That was a really weird way of saying that.
Not each other's friends.
No. They are my friends and my closest friends that are gigantic Warcraft nerds, but in the best possible way. So to start this off, let's find out from each of you how you first made love and not Warcraft. Or actually, I guess made Warcraft and not love.
Yeah.
Knowing you two.
Well, those are two different stories.
So Andrew, you go first.
Well, our stories are pretty much the same. We grew up off of Warcraft 2. Not quite old enough to be playing Warcraft 1 as that came out in 94. Yeah, we'd be waking up early and playing it before school. It was like one of our favorite RTSs growing up.
Yeah, so we would always wake up like about an hour and a half prior to school, just so we could get ready, go downstairs, put 45 minutes into the game, and then keep going. Like, put 45 minutes in, go to school, come back, play it some more. Next morning, 45 minutes more. And that's how we incrementally played Warcraft 2 for a while. It was a hard game. Also because we were like 10.
Yeah, very young.
Yeah.
I always find it interesting when there's kids who play games that are a little bit above like their grasp in terms of what the concept is and how to play it effectively, but there's still something there that it doesn't push them away, because I feel like, certain games, when you hit especially as a kid, when you hit a challenging section or you hit something that you don't quite understand, it'll either absorb you further into it because you want to learn how to play this game because you enjoy its core concept enough, or it just pushes you away where you're like, fuck that. In more little kid terms, of course.
I'm having flashbacks of Devil May Cry right now. That game sucked me in and I hated it, and that's the only game I threw a controller and broke it for. That's the only game that's
I did an episode on Devil May Cry, actually, and
I beat it. I loved it. I hated it at the same time. And I broke a controller.
It's the game you love to hate.
Yeah.
So with Warcraft 1, I only have a couple notes about it because so for those who don't know, Warcraft 2 is arguably its next. Warcraft 2 and 3 are the two best entries in the Warcraft RTS genre, or RTS series, I guess. So Warcraft is an interesting brand of games because it started out as an RTS with Warcraft Orcs and Humans. And it was an RTS up until World of Warcraft. And then they just dropped the RTS thing completely for WoW expansions because it was making them more money, understandably.
Yes. No, they built up for that. They knew what they were doing.
And then they have Hearthstone.
World of Warcraft, there's probably never going to be a Warcraft 4.
No, there's
never. Well, there's never there's no need to.
Exactly.
Especially the RTS genre, they picked the right time to get it out of the RTS zone, or out of the RTS game, because RTSs for a long time were there was the RTS boom of the 90s into the early 2000s. After the early 2000s, the genre kind of went away for about a decade or so. There were some hits here and there.
That's why you didn't see StarCraft 2 for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, you can only make so many RTSs about World War II, so
there's not that many about World War II that I'm aware of. I mean, maybe you know a lot more.
Well, shooters.
Shooters, there's a lot of.
Sure, but
there's a lot of World War II shooters. I know of two. I know of Company of
I
Heroes,
was just gonna say Company
which
of
was
Heroes.
2009, so
Yeah.
it was late. It was much later.
Yeah.
And then I think there was I'm blanking on Tides of War for some reason. I don't think that's even a name of a game. But what's interesting about Warcraft Orcs and Humans, just some notes. Now, I know neither of you guys have ever played this, so we're going to...
No, I've looked at the pictures and it's like awful. It looks
What's that?
awful.
Warcraft 1?
Yeah,
Warcraft
it's
1
Orcs
is
and Humans.
Very
So
unplayable.
the premise of Warcraft 1, which is apparently what the premise of the movie was, like they kind of
Yeah.
they kind
They
of
went back
used
to the very
they
beginning.
went back to the beginning where orcs travel showed up on Azeroth out of nowhere. They don't know how they got there really. At least in the game. I'm sure it's been fleshed out much more. But at the time for the initial game before they even came up with the rest of the lore, they showed up on Azeroth and the humans didn't like that, so it caused a full all-out war, between orcs and humans, hence the name Warcraft Orcs and Humans.
Yeah. Real basic.
Originally, this was going to be a series that was not just this high fantasy kind of Tolkien-esque world. They were actually going to do have it in fictional and real life scenarios. So there was going to be Warcraft Vietnam or something like that. That was their idea. I don't know if any development ever started on this, but they were originally going to have it branch out so that way when in their marketing departments, in the head of their marketing department, they were like, well, when you go to a store and you look at all the PC games on the store shelves back when that was still a thing, you would see Warcraft as a brand versus just a series. So it would kind of create this brand recognition of Warcraft Vietnam, Warcraft World War II, or something like that. Obviously, that's not what happened. That's not what came to fruition, because Warcraft 1 came out in 94, and then Warcraft 2, which is what you guys are more familiar with, came out in 96.
Yep.
And that's kind of where we're going at with this. Normally, the week this episode is coming out would be a mini episode on the history of RTS. But I kind of wanted to follow up my 200th with another full-length episode because I felt kind of weird having this big extravaganza and then going back down to a 15-minute episode. But then two, this game technically, Warcraft 2 specifically, on the list of games that I saw was kind of at the beginning of 96, and there's a game at the end of 96 that I want to talk about. But actually, I think it might have been the expansion for Warcraft 2. Did they come out the same year? Originally the
I
expansion?
thought it was pretty close. I couldn't tell you if it was the same year.
I will look that
They
up.
came out with the expansion? I don't think we never played the expansion,
No.
so we never owned it. That was Through the Dark portal.
Yeah.
I will double check on that and see if I
It's
can
very
find it.
presumptuous of them too. I mean, assuming that since you could play either human or orc when you start the game, that's pretty presumptuous that you just assume the humans are going to win. And nah, they didn't. Not in my playthrough.
I can't really see just yet, but I'll look it up some more. I'll keep looking at it. But some quick notes about the Warcraft 1, just to highlight some stuff that I found interesting when I watched a little review of it. You can only select 4 units at a time in Warcraft 1.
Oh,
so
man,
you
we're
couldn't
gonna do
have
that.
large groups. You can only select 4 units for one grouping at a time.
Yep.
Orcs could not heal any of their own units, but humans could. So the Orcs campaign, which is canonical to the Warcraft story, is brutally difficult because you couldn't heal any of your units. And the humans many times could heal faster than you could deal damage. So you would have to swarm them, basically to borrow terminology from another Blizzard
Zerg
franchise.
them?
You would have to
Zerg
Zerg
rush
them.
them. You would have to Zerg them. You have to give Zerg rush them. So that's pretty much all the notes that I took about it. The storyline's pretty straightforward. It's just orcs fighting humans. I believe if the humans win, then I believe they just annihilate all of the
That's all
orcs.
it is,
It's just pure genocide.
Yeah.
And
Well, the
then
same
if
thing. If the orcs win, they probably just do the same thing and move in.
Well, no, the Orc Campaign is the actual canonical one.
I think they
he's
actually
talking
try.
about number 1.
Yeah, I know, but the Orc campaign is canonical. If the way the Warcraft story unfolds is Warcraft
Right.
1's Orc campaign is the canonical story
Yes.
that Warcraft 2 follows. But I believe if you follow the human campaign, they just wipe out all the orcs. I think if you do the Orc campaign, from the video I got, I wasn't too clear, so maybe you guys know, but the orcs win the war, but decide to live peacefully. They don't try to wipe out the humans. They just carve out a piece of land for themselves, which ends up being Kalimdor. Overall.
We'll get into that. That's actually Warcraft 3.
Yeah.
That's a whole plot. So Kalimdor doesn't even exist at this point.
Yeah, it's just the Eastern Kingdoms.
Yep, it's just
yeah.
the world.
So all of Azeroth is the Eastern Kingdoms at that moment.
Yeah, pretty much.
And
Interesting.
There's no Northern. There's like none of the Isles. No.
And even
Kalimdor,
then,
it's just
Southern Eastern Kingdoms doesn't even exist yet. It goes as far down as Black Rock Mountain, and that's it. And then all the way up to Stormwind.
I'm just going to give a little bit of disclaimer for all you listeners. If you don't care about Warcraft lore, this might not be the episode for you, because we're actually going to end this episode with some Warcraft trivia from Jamie and Andrew's Warcraft Trivia Pursuit game, which will be fun to do.
We just pull cards out and just ask questions.
We'll do 10 questions and then see who gets the most out of 10, and then a tiebreaker.
I think that one goes all the way up to Mr. Pandaria. It's
Does
for
it?
the World
I
of
don't
Warcraft.
think it goes.
No, yeah, it definitely goes. To
but it
Mr.
has the
Pandaria.
Mr. Pandaria logo on the side. So
Already
All I
one
know
point
is
ahead
the
of
answer
me.
is Fruit Fender.
Oh my god.
So with Warcraft 2, they, the big actually, before we even get to Warcraft 2, I forgot one major thing about the first one. Their big inspiration was Dune 2, done by Westwood Studios, the same company that did Command and Conquer. Dune 2, I don't know if you guys knew this.
No.
I
don't know why, but I did know that.
So Dune 2 is really the first true RTS. Like, some people say there's a game on the Genesis called Herzog's Zwei. It kind of is, but Herzog's Zwei, you can control units, but you yourself are playing as a unit. Like, think of the mouse cursor as a unit itself, and you can transform into like a mech and fight enemies on the ground, then transform into an aircraft and fly around. So it's got a lot of the trappings of an RTS, but it kind of didn't put it all together the way Dune 2 did, where Dune 2 you actually had to gather resources to then build up an army to then go fight the other army. It's still very limited because it came out in 92, 93. I'm blanking on it right now. And then so Blizzard saw that, really loved Dune 2, and were like, and didn't see at the time, they didn't know that they were working on Command and Conquer. At the time, they were like, why is nobody else using this genre, like this gameplay mechanic? This is amazing. So that's when they created Warcraft. And so Warcraft was born as a direct result of Dune 2. Go figure, right?
Nice.
Yeah.
And they just kind of slapped on I'll take the words of the completionist over on YouTube. They slapped on some a Tolkien skin and you get Warcraft. But obviously they made it their own. It's very different from Lord of the Rings and pretty much a lot of other high fantasy.
Oh, sure.
I mean, it's because they really, Warcraft's such an interesting fantasy world because it blends so many different weird things, but somehow aesthetically they are able to make it work.
I feel like one of the most defining things about the Warcraft universe, and they really started developing this aspect after Warcraft 1, but there wasn't a clear bad guy after, during Warcraft 2 and then after. In the initial Orcs versus humans, it was Orcs coming to Azeroth and just messing everybody up. But after that, they started really defining that there is no bad guy here. It's just Orcs versus humans.
Gul'dan was still a bad guy in Warcraft 2.
Yes.
And he's one of the pivotal quote unquote bad guy. You never see him, but he's there and his name's there.
Well, it's one of those things where it's like you realize that maybe everyone's good and it's more nuanced. It's painting the worlds with different shades of gray instead of just painting someone as good and bad.
Oh, sure.
There's no.
Okay.
There are bad guys, but unlike in like Tolkien and some of the other, high fantasy genres where orcs are very clearly the, antagonists. In the Warcraft universe, there are bad people, but they're like hey, orcs are bad or elves are good or humans are the heroes of the story.
Flesh that out in Warcraft 3 though.
Yes.
Like you play the Warcraft 2 campaign, they like even in the loading screens they still look like tea bags. Like flipping daggers and trying to cut people.
I mean, that's why like there's like this almost everyone loves Thrall as the main character.
Well, that's we can't even get into that till
that's
number 3.
Yeah.
That wasn't even a name.
Well, we'll get to it then. So that's all I have for Warcraft 1. I just wanted to kind of touch on it because it did spawn the series as unrecognizable as that game is compared to what it became. it still created the Warcraft series. And in a weird sense, it got me thinking where if you want to really flesh out your game's lore, you almost need your first... If you have a game that you don't know if it's going to work out in the long run, you don't know if it's going to be able to turn into a full franchise, just write a simple story for the first one. Because if you can make a good game with a simple story, then you can flesh out all the lore in the world in the subsequent entries, because they had a good formula with Warcraft 1. I mean, now, and with our modern sensibilities, it's awful, but at the time it was revolutionary. Or I shouldn't say revolutionary, but at the time it was good. It was a solid game. And then obviously Warcraft 2 was just, it blew it off the door. So it blew the doors off, not blew it off the door. So let's go into Warcraft 2. I don't know where to even begin. What do you guys have? Jamie,
go ahead.
Jump right in.
You don't know, we're talking about how basic number 1 was and how the lore was pretty simple. But what you don't have now going into Warcraft 2 is that you don't have the physical manual the game came with. If you had that physical manual, that manual is thick because it is a book of its own.
Yes.
It had so much of the lore of Warcraft in that book.
Do you still have it?
It's
probably.
Somewhere we do have it.
We do. And it's just
cool
it's all of the lore telling about the Dark Portal and the coming through and what the orcs are and who their leaders are and the humans. It has everything. Like, it skims it in the game, but the actual book has so much to it.
It's almost like a player's guide to it.
Yeah. It's like just gives all the backstory to it. Like the in game tells you what's going on, but that manual was just the whole story.
So interesting to think that one game, like the very next game, like here's a Bible. Here is the Bible of Warcraft.
Yep. I told you who Gul'dan was, who the orcs were, how they came over, the humans and their positions, who Lothar was from the humans' hero point of view, who Gul'dan was from the orcs. Yeah, it was crazy. It had everything about them.
Like you were saying, they had briefly touched on this stuff in Warcraft 1, but they realized they had, a gem on their hands. So that's when they got a team and they decided to really start making the lore for it. They used the names and then they just ran with it.
I really wonder when they decided to switch from that Warcraft as a brand to Warcraft as a series.
Oh, I can tell you. It was
it was with
Warcraft
the second
3 together. The second they were like, yo, let's make Warcraft 3. They're like, yeah, cool, we'll make Warcraft 3, but we're going to make an MMO. Warcraft 3 is just the vessel.
What I mean is just when they switch from like that Warcraft Vietnam idea. Like that's what I'm saying. Like when Warcraft is a brand where it's like, we're just going to put Warcraft as like the main title with a subtitle for whatever thing. So Warcraft Orcs and Humans was the initial one,
right? Okay.
But then Warcraft Vietnam, Warcraft, when did they I wonder what was when did they decide to just switch from let's make this a mix between fantasy and then have another entry to be real and another entry to be fantasy to just let's just flesh out Warcraft into its own thing. It's not a brand that we're putting Vietnam as the afterwards or like World War II as the as the subtext.
They probably had that idea with Warcraft too, because if you look at it, StarCraft 1 came out in 98, which is again 2 years after that, and that was as far as gameplay goes, way more developed.
Well, I mean, it's obvious that it happened in between 1 and 2 because they doubled down, they quadrupled down by creating a Bible of Warcraft lore. But I'm just wondering, like, what made them switch? I mean, not like any of us would know. It's just kind of me postulating.
Sure.
But so they have a whole Bible of Warcraft lore. So
you open the whole manual.
What's the overall story of Warcraft 2 then? If I know it's probably pretty dense, so is there?
Warcraft 2, it's the same thing probably as Warcraft 1 was. Instead of them coming through the Dark Portal, the orcs found a home in Blackrock Mountain, and then they gather themselves up and they just try it again. That's all it is. It's just number 2, we're Tides of Darkness, adds in more gameplay mechanics where there's seas now, there's boats and oil, where there was no water before. But the story is just that the orcs come down off the mountain and they're trying to take over Stormwind again.
Yep.
And the Stormwind Knights are just like, hey, there's orcs in our farmlands. Let's go kill some orcs. And like that was the game. That was the premise in game.
Really? So the actual gameplay, like story, the actual game storyline wasn't that detailed, but the lore with that they gave you with it was much more detailed than the gameplay was.
Oh,
that's
Absolutely.
interesting.
Yes.
Like I would like because like
the artwork was really
because you look at like World of Warcraft, right? Let's say they did the same thing with World of Warcraft, where they had a shitload of lore in the manual, and then you play the game. That game is filled with just as much lore as that manual, probably more in all honesty. But like
a lot more.
But like it's interesting to me that like they would do that, like they would choose to tell instead of show.
Well, that's because I think it was more limited back then. Like if you look at the mechanics of Warcraft 2 compared to the other mechanics of RTSs, it was just very simple mechanics. So I think they didn't have the ability to tell the story they wanted to. Like if you look at the Tides of Darkness, that intro cinematic was like a masterpiece of its time.
Yes.
That was a great intro cinematic when we were kids. It's amazing.
Yes, it was.
But I just don't think they had the effort to put it in there. Like there's missions halfway through the Orc campaign where it says like Gul'dan's betrayed you and go hunt him down and stuff like that.
Yes.
And it was pretty cool. But like they just focused more on the gameplay of it than they did the actual
they tried
storytelling in game.
Yeah, they tried to impose as much lore as they could, but you really just had loading screen bits of it.
Yeah, well, I mean, at the very beginning of every mission, they did have a cool guy like doing his cool voiceover stuff, like reading off a story, and you're like, I don't know that location, I don't know those names, and now you go back and play, and like, hey, I know that place, I know Westfall.
How consistent is Blizzard with their Warcraft lore? Do they do
good?
Yes,
very
good.
The naming of their places are all exactly the same. The map has evolved drastically over time, but it all remains in very similar places. The names are all there. The places are all there. The map's kind of funky.
I was just gonna say their lore is spot on, and they're a little bit vague about their geography because their maps change with pretty much every game. Yeah. Not a lot, just specific locations.
I was just curious because I wasn't sure how much they would have to end up retconning everything with how many, especially with
almost
like
not at all.
Zero.
That's really impressive.
Yes.
That's very impressive.
Every map they made in 2 and 3, they're just like, okay, cool, we'll make it Warcraft. It's not like we have to make Warcraft and we'll make this fit. Like you even look at the loading pages from Warcraft 3 and you see Lake Lordamere and you see exactly where Silvermoon was and you see where Tristfall Glaives is. You see everything.
And again, it's a little bit different. Like if you open up the map in World of Warcraft, you'll see everything that they're talking about, but it'll be slightly shifted. The places might be a little bit off, but they're they're as specific as they can get.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. It just makes me want to play WoW again, man. Like I don't have the money for that.
Don't go down that rabbit hole.
I just expired.
Are you still playing, Andrew?
No, I canceled a little bit ago.
My account expired 2 days ago.
Yeah,
literally 2 days ago.
That's amazing though, because it's one thing I know they end up making dumb decisions sometimes with their lore. I know a lot of people were mad about the Pandaria thing because they added pandas in, but I guess they kind of made it work. I don't know.
They made it work. It was actually a good expansion as far as.
But without going too far into the WoW aspect of the lore, I just find it, what I kind of admire about their storytelling with it is that they find a way to add new stuff to it, but they don't. And without retconning, which is even more impressive. A lot of times you have to retcon things to comics do it all the time to make new stories and stuff like that. But with this, they don't retcon. So the fact that they're just like, no, we are just going to, it doesn't matter what the idea is, we're going to find a way to make this work. If it's bad, they still stick with it.
Oh, absolutely.
And I kind of admire that.
No, they do a great job with it. If you notice in Warcraft 2, your foot soldier as a human was foot soldier, human guy. Your range is an elven archer.
Yes.
That is it. Guess what? There are no high elves in Warcraft anymore. There are blood elves, and then which used to be high elves that just had that mana addiction, and night elves, right? So they took the idea of having just an elf, and they broke it into subclasses, subraces, did away with it, converted their entire race and culture into the blood elf culture, seamlessly overnight. They just said, nope, elves aren't a thing in Warcraft 3, but then they also reintroduced them in Warcraft 3, the Frozen Throne, as blood elves then later on. So, but they take what they had and they just say, nah, we're going to twist it to this. And they make it work perfectly. There's never anything that fits like a hard, just square into a circle.
Yes.
They make it work.
Yeah.
They did a magnificent job with that. One of my favorite races is the Trolls. I don't even think they're in Warcraft 1, but they still talk about it. You can go back to Zul'jin, who gets betrayed and dies in Warcraft 1, and I don't even think he's technically a playable character in it, but then you fast forward to Warcraft 2. every troll you pump out says vengeance for Zul'jin.
Yeah, and you're like, I don't know who that is.
Wow.
And that's
They're all
when
there.
trolls start becoming playable.
Do you wonder if that was like an early meme or something like that? Like maybe it's like players of Warcraft 1 like Zul'jin a lot and they got feedback on kind of like the cow level in like Diablo 2 type of thing, where it's just like, this poor Zul'jin just got murdered in Warcraft 1. He's our new hero. He's our icon. And so now every troll in Warcraft 2 is like, I don't know if that's the case. I think that'd be really funny though.
It would be funny.
You could see that with considering they added the
Yes.
cow level after Diablo 1. So let's kind of dive into the mechanics of Warcraft 2 then. Like what really?
I wouldn't say
No,
awful.
I actually played through Human Orc a couple of years ago, and it wasn't awful, but you definitely needed to know what you were doing and move quickly. If you messed up, you're done.
Yes.
Like the resources are very limited.
Yes.
So if you don't win your battle and you think, okay, I lost, let me go gather some more, rebuild my army. Gold was very, very finite in that.
That's funny because that's a holdover from Warcraft, Orcs, and Humans. It seems like when I was watching, I mentioned him before, the Completionist on YouTube. He did a video on it, and one of the things that he mentioned was that what he had to do in order to win battles, because like you're saying, Jamie, if you fuck up, then you're done. So what he would do is he would play each battle twice. He would do, but the first time it would literally just to scout and find where all the different resources are. Because there literally was no time for him to take the time to scout. In most other games, the AI also scouts with you and they're trying to find resources. But back then they knew exactly where it was. So he would literally do that. He would go through, he would start each mission, scout the whole map out to know where the enemy was, to know where,
Weak.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
and then just quit. I don't know if
bloodline will end.
I don't know actually if he
If it hasn't already.
I don't know if he actually scouted the enemy out, but he scouted for resources specifically. Then
Well,
he
that
would
just
quit.
shows that he doesn't know what he's doing because he didn't bring down the tilde and just do Fog of War. 'Cause that game had so many cheats in it. It was great. You could do / show me the money to get infinite gold. You could do / like Fog of War to reveal all Fog of War. It had all the cheats available to you.
Oh yeah.
You could play it and it would just show
So
the
wait,
maps, show
you're
the
telling
characters.
him that he's a bad gamer for not cheating?
No,
Well, if you're gonna put the time into it.
yeah, if you're gonna run through it once just to see where everything is, you might as well just throw on like a cheat if you can't do it. The
Fog of
first
War
time.
or just Google it.
He might not have known about that, to be clear.
Oh,
I
yeah,
don't know.
that
though.
game had plenty of
Oh, yeah.
cheats,
Yep.
and then the AI was just.
But you're talking about Warcraft 2. I'm talking about Warcraft 1. This is what he was doing.
I still say the same thing.
I mean,
Like-
maybe it's, I'm sure they
cheats
are,
are
but
there.
I don't know if it's like as on the nose as that. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Sure.
I was talking. That's what he was doing in Warcraft 1. He, as far as I could see, he didn't do a video for Warcraft 2. But I
No,
would watch
I
it.
mean that's still the same type of thing. There was a lot of guest test and revised.
Yes.
I remember one mission. Actually, it was a mission in both Human and Orc later on, because the Human and Orc campaigns were pretty much mirrored. They're exactly
Yes.
the same,
Yep.
just tweaks to them.
Yep.
Like you start off, the first mission is just, hey, build a base, get some guys, kill the dudes, right? Just so you figure it out. Second mission, as the humans, is, hey, go free some elven archers that are held prisoner.
Yep.
As orcs, it's, hey, go free the
some
elves.
trolls.
Yeah, some trolls. Right?
Yeah,
They're both
yeah.
your range units. It's the same thing, just different map.
After
Okay.
maybe like the third or fourth mission, that's when the stories start branching off, becoming more unique.
Right.
But it's the same 3 tutorial missions.
But what I was saying is that in both human and orc, there's one where it just says, here's a handful of dudes you start with, and it's just get these guys or get a single unit across the map, and it's a branching fork of a path. So you could pick the wrong path right away and just hit the hardest enemies, and then your team's done. So, but with the orcs, you had the Eye of Gul'dan. From
Yep.
the ogres could cast the scout ahead for you,
Yep.
but they would just be little clusters of enemies at these forks in the paths. You had to find the right path, so you just play the mission a couple times to figure it out. So
or
they
you
had
just
stuff
use
like
the
that.
cheat, like you said, and turn off Fog of War.
Yeah, absolutely.
You try the mission once or twice until you realize you're bad at it.
And then when you're
you use the
10 years old, you're like, nah.
I'm not doing it. Yeah.
Now then again, we never beat. Oh, I don't know. I bet you. No, you didn't.
What?
I never beat the game when I was a kid.
No, I never beat it when I was a kid. I went back,
Yeah.
I guess maybe like 2 or so years ago, and then I went back and beat it.
Yeah, because even if you had the cheats on, like I said, it's
very
very
unforgiving game.
very hard. You have to get the gold, get the right sized army, move forward, get the next base, make sure that your stupid catapults didn't kill you. Or
Yes.
the catapults in that game.
Oh my God, they
What
were
a
terrible.
Mechanic. they could level an entire army with an accidental miss shot.
They could level both armies.
Yeah, absolutely. You could shoot it.
Friendly fire's a bitch.
It's whatever catapult fires first is probably going to win that fight.
Yeah.
Because they would that was the only AoE, and it would just rip
Huge
through your base
splash
guys,
damage, yep.
rip through your range, and it was awful.
You had to pretty much swaddle every unit because you started running. The later missions, they were very unforgiving with their resources.
Yeah.
You had to like swaddle each unit. You had to make sure that they were getting healed and, not taking too much damage, rotate your units out.
But that's the thing about Warcraft 2, especially for Warcraft 2, is that's all the game was. Is just monitoring them. You could only, it was better than the first one. You could select more than 4.
Yes.
But you could select maybe
it was 9.
Was it 9? Okay.
It was 3 rows of 3. I don't know why I remember
That's
that.
right. But there was no auto attack A. There's no attack click to make them move forward.
Yeah,
you can right click and
Yes.
move them. But then what'll happen is that how unit AI works is that if you've got a couple orcs standing around and a couple humans walk up to it, then the humans obviously will start engaging with the orcs, but the orcs will attack them first because your human moved into their space first. But then the orcs behind them are lazy and their threat range is so tiny that the other orcs behind them will just stand there and just watch the fight unless you actually click those orcs, move them closer to the fight, and then tell them to fight. So it's very much unit micromanagement. There's no special abilities on these guys.
Yeah,
well, there was a couple of them, like Death Knights and stuff.
Yeah.
But it was just positioning everybody to actually do the job they were hired to do.
This game was absolutely groundbreaking, but looking back at it from, the quality of life that we have in our real-time strategy games now, it was clunky as hell.
Oh yeah, so clunky.
I was watching a competitive game of it. And the funny thing, the first thing that stuck out to me, because I was watching, I'm like, okay, the gameplay mechanics, I can see what they're doing. They're sending workers to the different resources, collecting resources,
Just
and going to
gold.
build. It's a very standard RTS fare, but what I thought was funny is that it reeked of the mid '90s art multimedia craze, where every single move had a sound effect that accompanied with it. So these professional players that have hundreds of clicks and actions a second, they're like,
Yes, me lord. Yes.
You hear, yes,
Job done.
Walk.
Oh my god. Side note, our grandmother loved Warcraft 3 because of the human peasant.
Oh yeah.
We would be playing this game in our basement and she'd be doing laundry or something, and then you'd click a peasant and it'd say, who, me? Or job done. And you could just hear her laughing from the other room. She loved those units.
Oh, they were great. You're the king. Well, I didn't vote for you.
I didn't vote for you. Help, I'm being oppressed.
help, I'm being oppressed. Is that
they
That's
stole that
fantastic.
directly from Monty Python.
That is fantastic.
So, fun fact, Blizzard Entertainment is one of the first companies that started using media from other games. If you keep clicking,
you mean in references or actual media?
References. They were using other, media.
Yeah.
But
there's so many good ones.
Oh yeah, especially in Warcraft 3. There were some in Warcraft 2, but you keep clicking the units. They go through their appropriate in-game lines,
3 or 4 times.
Lord,
Yep.
what do you want me to do? Moving here, and then if you keep clicking them and stuff, they'll start saying ridiculous stuff, like the peasants. They'll just start quoting Monty Python. Help, I'm being oppressed.
I always like the knight. He's like, oh man, what would he always say? He's like, why do you keep touching me? That's what he says. Andrew, how is your sound card? Your sound card works perfectly.
So they had a phenomenal voice actor for Warcraft 2. He did all the human intro dialogue, for all the scenarios and stuff. But they also used him for your sound card check.
When that was a real thing.
Yeah, when sound cards were still a thing.
Yeah.
You'd test your sound card in the game, and the actual test was, your sound card works perfectly. I would click that over and over. It's just so funny.
That's great.
But back to my point, they started taking media, lines
Pop
from
culture references.
Yeah,
absolutely.
exactly. From everywhere. It was all over.
You referenced before, Jamie, about the micromanagement of units.
Oh yeah, oh it's awful.
And it just got me thinking.
Awful.
So I've been doing research for my next episode on the history of RTS games, and there's a game called Blood and Magic, I want to say, that came out the same year as Warcraft 2, and it's a D&D. It's a D&D licensed game.
Okay.
And I have never seen such a micromanage intensive game in my entire fucking life.
Really?
This is actually the first game on that episode. So all you listeners who like the RTS series, that'll be the first game I talk about next week. But in a much more scripted way. But the way that you collect resources, you build these blood golems that then can like turn into like different, or basal golems, basal golem. I don't remember. There are these golems, basalt golems. And so
it's an actual mineral. Don't look at me like that.
Thank you.
And so you can use them, like they use these things for everything. Like they're your workers, they're your soldiers. But the way that it works to collect resources, you turn them into like this obelisk thing that automatically generates like your resource for you. But to collect the resource, you have to click on each individual obelisk,
gross.
and then click another button to transfer it to your bank, so you can then spend on other stuff.
I don't
So
understand
like
why they
if
did
you
that.
have like 20 different obelisks on screen, which
thank
you
you.
will need in order to keep up unit production, you're click, move, click, click.
That's
move,
when
click,
like
move,
you don't
click.
have
It's
enough
awful.
other in-game mechanics that are fun to
Yes.
make it worth it. That sounds awful.
I was watching a gameplay of it and I was reading some description stuff of it just to understand it all. I'm like, are you fucking kidding? Like it was just, oh my God, I just could not believe it. I'm a lot less harsh on it in my scripted one so far with what I've written at least, but it's still like, it just boggles my mind.
At least in Warcraft 2, it was still an automated system.
Yeah,
you
you sign
just
him.
grabbed your guy, click on a tree, you're good to go. You click on the gold mine, you're good to go.
Right. Automated. Easy. Yeah. But the units were a mess to move around.
Terrible.
You have to figure out, you have to move your melee guys first. Or actually, you have to time it better. So you have to take your group of range guys and send them first so they'd start moving, and then quickly grab your melee and then move them so everybody's moving as the right pack.
Yep.
Oh, but your catapult moves about an inch every minute. So the thing is slow as hell. So you send that first, then your archers, then your foot soldiers. Hopefully you don't run into anything before where you click, because they'll just keep walking past the enemy since there's no auto attack A move. So then if that happens, well, they're hitting you. Now you got to select the guy. Oh, it's you got to like inch forward through the map.
Yes.
But if you know it or don't know it, because things pop out at you.
The one thing they did do right is the patrolling feature.
Yeah, that was actually really
Yes.
cool. Yep. You could assign a guy to go back and forth, and they had that same logic where if he hits somebody, like walks into them, like, oh, I should fight you.
They did have a certain attack range if they were ranged units, but it was still not great.
Yeah, you still have to move forward.
One fun thing though is you just get a whole bunch of destroyers. Eventually you get the sea
Ships.
units, the
Juggernauts.
water units. Yeah, the juggernauts, massive party boats with cannons everywhere.
Yeah, they're great.
But you get a whole bunch of these destroyers, and then you just have them all patrolling up and down the coast, and they'll just
I
wreck
find it
everything.
so funny that even in RTS games, you can have basically the RTS version of bad hitboxes like you do in
yeah.
platformers.
Oh.
But instead in RTSs, it's just ranges. Like you like, or a range of knowing, like you were saying, like the range of the archers is really short. And you were mentioning before, Jamie, like how
Yeah, you were talking about bad hitboxes.
Like if you are like just a pixel off of like of like the 2 foot radius that you should be for your guy to automatically attack another soldier. That's just funny to me that even in RTSs, like they have quote unquote bad hitboxes.
Right,
just
that's
done
like the
differently.
radius range, but the bad hitbox was the catapult.
That was an actual thing.
Oh my god, the catapults could either, and I don't know what the math was, but they could hit your guys and just level them right away. They had damage radius, or they could hit your dudes and just somehow miss.
Yes.
Like I don't understand. Like if your catapult hit a dude that was moving, right, it would hurt them, but maybe not kill them. But if they were standing still in a group, they're done. But then sometimes it'll hit them right on and then just completely miss them.
Yep.
Like the catapults made no sense.
No, they were
but
terrible.
you could assign the catapults to auto attack the ground, which was always really cool. So you can make it
Yes.
like
A kill zone.
Yeah, you can make it a kill box. So even if somebody marched their troops in, the things are, if you had 2 or 3, they're constantly
Especially if you
firing.
can funnel them all into like
Yes.
one spot, then you just gang up all the
sure.
catapults onto that one location.
They tried to be very innovative with the range, with the ranged units, but they were all over the board.
Yeah,
like
they were.
Your normal ranged units, like the troll axe thrower, perfect accuracy. Like you really could not miss.
Yeah,
the
Elnar's
catapults were either
everywhere.
1 to 1,000,000 damage.
Oh, the ships were awful
Yes.
too. Oh my god.
If anything was moving, the ships would not be able to hit it.
No, because the ship would try and move closer to hit it, but if it would walk away, like, oh, we got to sail a little more, and that was awful. In Tides of Darkness, Warcraft 2, they added in the boat combat. So they added in oil rigs, which was so funny to me because they did away with the oil rigs until like maybe like the 5th expansion into Warcraft, like World of Warcraft.
Yeah.
Did they bring in airships and stuff like that?
Yeah.
But yeah, you had to actually go build a harbor, build an oil ship, build a dock, and then the orcs got juggernauts with the giant
God.
ships, right?
Yeah.
But then the humans got the underwater turtles.
No,
the
no,
submarines.
no.
Or am I thinking?
It was even. No, you're right. There were 4 total ships. There was the transport ship, the oil harvester ship,
The light
and
ship?
for orcs. No, I guess it was 5 then.
Yeah, there's a light. Both have light ships.
Yeah, because then they each have the light ships, the destroyers, and the orcs have the juggernauts, which are the heavy boats.
Right, you're right.
And then
Heavy,
the
heavy.
orcs get the underwater turtles.
Yes.
They're the
That's what,
yes,
yeah, they're
because-
submarines. They're submarines.
yes.
It's stupid. They're so
The
powerful.
humans get legit submarines, and
Yeah.
the orcs get underwater turtles.
Yeah, it was great.
I love
with cannons on their backs.
Oh, yeah, they're fantastic. And the second they pop up, then you can hit them.
Yes.
But these things they were devastating.
God, yeah, they were.
the
so
underwater
annoying.
turtles were devastating.
Oh,
Yeah,
absolutely.
absolutely. 100%.
They
Fair
were
enough.
squishy as hell. They died
They took
so
like 2
easy.
shots.
Blast
Yeah,
cannons.
no.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
But you
Now-
could not target them unless they were attacking.
You can't see them. Yep.
Now, can you get this game currently? Like, did
Yeah.
they do
Yes.
a remaster of it? Or
No.
not a remaster, but you can get it on Blizzard's
Yeah.
like Battle.net thing, right?
I don't know about Blizzard, but
Wait.
GOG.com,
Oh, there you go.
they recently got that onto their library.
I can
That's
play it
interesting
through.
that they have it because Good Old Games is done by, I think it's run by like CD Projekt Red, which would not necessarily a direct competitor to Blizzard, but like, well, isn't CD Projekt, this might be getting a little conspiratorial, but like CD Projekt Red, I'm pretty sure part of the ownership is Tencent, which also Tencent also owns a portion of Blizzard. So I wonder if there's like that help the
Probably.
the
Oh,
work.
there's always a conspiracy.
There's always conspiracy.
I couldn't tell you. I actually still play it through Blizzard because I registered the Warcraft 2 CD key to the Battle.net, and I can actually play it through there.
That I did not know.
Like if you register the old Diablo 2 game and Diablo 1, you can actually they'll let you play it through the Battle.net.
Yeah, that I did not know.
I wonder. I actually found like a Diablo 2 battle chest, and you can actually see it over there on the shelf there.
Yep.
I wonder if that
You
code
can.
still works.
Absolutely.
But I don't know if that code still works. It
Right.
might.
No, it will. It will
Yeah,
absolutely.
it
As long
should.
as somebody has not registered it already, it will work.
I wonder. I doubt people registered it.
I mean, I only registered our Diablo 2 copy. Well, I guess it was years ago now. But I mean, it's not like anybody's going through and registering like, oh, I got to have this game. I mean, they just re-released it, so nobody cares.
Man, I got to do a Diablo episode at some point. I
Oh,
love
we can talk Diablo.
Diablo
days.
2 is
Let's,
one of my favorite
let's
games.
not even get on
Yeah,
that,
that-
because we
Man, I
could
gotta
literally
pause some
talk
of this
about
But
that for
we've been
hours.
we've
Gotta
been
pawn some of that. That's Diablo 1.
what else do you guys have to say about Warcraft 2? I feel like it's weird because we've been talking Warcraft 2 for about 25ish minutes, and I feel like we've only scratched the surface, but we've also covered a lot at the same time.
The other point I had for Warcraft 2 is the early units were mirrored. You can have a footman and an orc warrior run up to each other and just bash the hell out of each other.
It's still-
the first one who struck first won.
Usually,
'Cause it's that
absolutely.
even.
Yes.
But it's not like they both deal 15 damage. They both deal 10 to 14 damage.
Yes.
So it's actually not a guaranteed win. It's almost a coin toss who's going to win. Every unit had ranged damage, so it wasn't as calculatable.
Yes.
Like it is in today's games.
Yes.
And then when you upgraded your weapons, all you did was upgrade that to like instead of 10 to 14, it was like 12 to 16. So it's
Okay.
still it's still like a chance, but that's how you did that.
But generally speaking, each unit was mirrored. Like you're going to
Health
have an
damage.
elven ranger do the exact same thing as a troll axe thrower.
The only thing that was different was the orcs got death knights, so they got
Yes.
death and decay, which was OP.
Yes.
But then
Yes, it was.
humans got mages like sheep, which was okay back in the day. And like, I don't know.
Oh, no.
Did they get Blizzard?
It was great. Yeah, they got Blizzard.
Okay.
They the later units, they started branching off. You have your stereotypical heavy units, like the humans, they got knights. And a lot of people think that they're better because knights are the only unit in that game that can heal.
Right.
Like anybody.
That's true.
But on the flip side, the orcs got ogres, and then they eventually got... I'm sorry, I missed a step.
Yeah.
They made knights, and then you upgraded them into paladins, which could heal.
Yes.
Like heaviest units in the game. But on the flip side, orcs got ogres, and they could eventually upgrade them into ogre magi, who have what I consider to be the strongest spell in the game, which is Bloodlust.
Yeah, always Bloodlust.
The most... it's one of the, it made the units huge, and they always made that noise. But, yeah...
Like the sound wave is just a wall of blue. I'm going to have to clean the hell out of that. It'll be fine.
Exactly.
So they bloodlust.
Yeah, which just increased their attack speed, and they went ham on
yeah,
units.
you win. The healing doesn't matter at that point because they have to sacrifice their attack to heal, and then the ogres are just wailing on them.
Healing was great, but like even now, you still have World of Warcraft using this iconic spell from well over a decade ago, Bloodlust.
That when you pop the cooldowns at the end for each boss.
Fun fact: if you know that noise from World of Warcraft, you know the noise we're talking about.
Yeah, I do actually. Well, it's because
actually no. I'm sorry, that is a different noise. They toned it down into just one shout instead of three.
I do like how in WoW when the warriors pop Bloodlust, right?
The shamans.
When the shamans pop Bloodlust, literally every character just suddenly grows like an extra foot or something. You just
they started doing that in Warcraft 3 when you Bloodlust, and you can clearly see who's coming for you.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Oh, that would be terrifying. Like you're just playing defense, all of a sudden you see this like pissed off orc storming through like your defenses.
Yeah, but that was pretty much what really started making the Warcraft genre, a well-defined niche. Yeah. Like, it wasn't just two sides of the same coin. Units started developing their own personalities, and they had hero units, but they were just stronger versions. They eventually came out with Warcraft 3, where you had legitimate hero units.
Yeah. That's where it turned. Yeah. That came out after StarCraft. So StarCraft is where they said, okay, we've been doing the Warcraft thing for a while, and they took the StarCraft thing and just made it better. In Warcraft, you can have a maximum food supply of 99. I'm pretty sure it's 90 or 99. 99. So I mean, even in Warcraft 3, that held. Well, actually, no.
They upped it to 200 in Warcraft 3.
Is food supply like your population?
No, yes. StarCraft. StarCraft had 200 population.
Warcraft 3 had 200 population.
I challenge that. I think that was 90. Because your armies were that big. Anyway, you know what? There were food supplies in Warcraft 2, but you had to build farms or like the pig farms for the orcs. I don't think there was an actual limit to the amount of dudes you could have because the gold was so limited in Warcraft 2. So I don't think they actually had a population cap.
I think they did. They definitely did.
Maybe I never hit it because, like I said,
it was very hard to hit.
Yeah,
because
you never gather that much gold and sit still anyway.
Eventually, your gold mine used to have like 10,000 gold, or maybe not that low, but like a single paladin
that low
would start costing like 750 gold.
It was tons.
So wow, yeah. So if it's only 10,000 gold, you're gonna really be lucky if you get like
if that paladin died. That's a very heavy blow to your economy.
Yeah, that's especially in single player. Like once you lost one or two heavy units that you spent forever, it was like, you know what? Nah.
I always kind of like it when games make I think it's not to get into StarCraft, but that's what made StarCraft so interesting is that they really revolutionized play styles of different RTS of civilizations versus in almost every RTS game up to that, and even a lot of them today, like the differences between each race are more stats versus actual build orders.
Yes.
Because Protoss, Terrans are vastly different ways of playing versus just like.
Well, they did that in Warcraft 3 too.
Yes.
Warcraft 3 they had four races.
Did they? Okay.
4 races, completely different play styles.
Oh my god.
And that's where it gets good. All right, so let's wrap up Warcraft 2.
Yeah, we'll wrap up Warcraft.
We could talk Warcraft 3 forever too.
Warcraft 3 is going to be a long conversation.
Because we still have Warcraft 3 and we still have to do the trivia at the end.
So Warcraft 2 was sweet. The movement control awful.
Horrible.
Great game, very challenging
Yes.
though, and you can beat it without cheats. It is doable.
Good story too.
Good story. Either you wipe out Stormwind, and they have an icon for Stormwind. You wipe out Stormwind, which
Orcs.
is very satisfying.
Orcs conquer the world.
Or you wipe out Blackrock Spire.
Yes.
What is the canonical ending to go on to Warcraft
Humans
3?
win.
Humans win. So
Humans win because then they wipe out the Blackrock Orcs, the Blackrock clan of Orcs, and then they take Thrall, which isn't even a character yet. And then they raise him, and then that's where Warcraft 3 kicks in.
that makes a lot of sense because there are still orcs like remnants in Blackrock Spire, which is like a whole instance and raid. And Warcraft 3 is pretty much the impetus of Arthas and the Lich King storyline.
That starts.
That
That
starts-
That,
that
no, it
starts-
doesn't
where it
even
starts.
exist.
Now, before we dive into Warcraft 3, because I didn't know anything about Warcraft 3 for a long while. I didn't actually even play Warcraft 3 until I started playing World of Warcraft when I started with the Wrath of the Lich King expansion.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
I'm sorry. I couldn't have nice computers like you rich kids.
Well, what can I say?
Apology
We
accepted.
started with one.
Apology
We
accepted.
started with one in our uncle's basement, and then he decided that he wanted us to play. So then he got a second, and then we realized that we were fighting each other, and I would always win. So then he got a third computer so we could play. But then it's the 90s. We need a server computer, so we got
my
4,
God.
and then we had some friends.
Oh
Well,
my
now we
God.
need 5.
It
Your
got out
uncle,
of- it got out of hand so
I remember
quick.
you telling me stories of your uncle's like crazy land
yeah.
parties.
Battlefest.
Battlefest for sure.
So what I knew of Warcraft 3 was stuff that I didn't even know was from Warcraft 3. So like before, two things. One, I have a friend that I went to college with named Daria. When I played her this one song, and it has sound bites from Warcraft 3. She's like, I recognize that, and she recognized it from Warcraft 2 because they kept similar sound clips.
Oh yeah, no, their music
but
was great.
the song Dota by Bass Hunter.
Okay.
You ever hear that song?
No.
It's
Maybe,
basically
if I heard it.
the lyrics are very like he's from Europe. I don't remember the country because it's not in English, but basically we're sitting here playing Dota. That's basically the lyrics of the song.
Yeah.
And so it's like we sit here playing Dota, and then it cuts to the orc going, or a troll going, I feel you, man.
Who you want me to kill?
What you want me to do?
That was the best one. Warcraft 2, the orcs. Every time you move them around, who you want me to kill?
What you want me to do? Who you want me to kill?
So those were like up until the World of Warcraft and that one Bass Hunter song all about Dota, which Dota we're going to touch on because that is a massive thing that came out of Warcraft 3. It
Sure. All the
created
scenarios.
it created its own genre
It did,
of game. But that is an episode in and of
Yes.
itself because Dota is so fucking huge, but it's worth at least mentioning here.
Sure.
Warcraft 3 came out early 2000s, 2003.
Before we even talk about Warcraft 3 too, just so you know where Blizzard had plans to go with the very end, starting. I don't know if Warcraft 1 had it. I'm pretty sure not. But yeah, it's like Warcraft. It's like 2002, I think. It came out.
2002, yep. And then World of Warcraft came out in 2004.
2004. So to tell you where they were going when they created Warcraft 2, Warcraft 2 and Warcraft 3 and Warcraft 3 expansion, they all have end theme musics to their credits.
Yes.
So even Warcraft 2 has the end theme, and it's just the orc peasant going like, ooh, like he just makes these funny sounds. And then they have the human knight just like repeating some of his lines and stuff. But it even ends like it's saying like in the age of chaos, 2 factions battle for dominance. And it ends with saying, welcome to the world of Warcraft.
Yes.
That's the very first time it says that. At the end of Warcraft 2, it says, welcome to the world of Warcraft. So they
That-
knew where they were going. Or had a
Well,
good
World of
idea.
Warcraft had a 10-year development cycle or something before it even came out. So I'm not. And at that time, I think there was EverQuest Online out
In the
already
very
in
late
96?
90s, very early 2000s, that's when MMOs were really starting to become a thing.
So
And it's nuts, and they hit their peak in the mid 2000s. Like it, just because WoW was so fucking.
WoW,
insanely,
2006. I mean, came out 2004, 2006 was great, and that's when
Yes.
Burning Crusade came out, and it was huge. But Warcraft 3 then was with that in mind. Warcraft 3 and its entire purpose was to be an amazing, great game, but it was to set up
Yes.
the MMO.
It
Even the
set-
expansion
yeah.
set up the MMO.
They
Everything
set
was
up
there for it.
the world of Warcraft.
That's it.
Because they had all of these storylines and they didn't finish many of them.
Right, they
There were
set up-
some endings, but they left it very
Okay.
open.
They also that's where in Warcraft 3 they said, hey, there's Eastern Count. It picks up. All right, so everybody knows Warcraft 3 is the story of Arthas. So right, Warcraft 3 starts and
Thrall.
okay, yep, but the first, so you play through every race now. It's not just humans and orcs. You play through every race in Warcraft 3, which is humans, undead, orc, and night elf in that order for the original Warcraft 3. So the human campaign is Arthas as a knight. You see his descent into madness. I'm sorry, what?
Paladin.
What did I say?
Knight.
Wow. Yeah, thank you. Paladin.
You have to emphasize Paladin because he goes from in the light to fucking sorry to
Dude,
like
you can swear on this podcast.
I have no idea.
I've dropped the F-bomb several times since we've started recording.
Yikes.
Yeah,
No, I'm kidding. Yeah, he goes from Paladin. He's right. The Prince of Lordaeron, which now they've introduced Lordaeron. Lordaeron has never existed to this point.
It was always just Stormwind.
And as a kid, I never actually realized that because most of my memory was Warcraft 3. But Lordaeron never existed until now.
Yep.
So you're saying he's a Prince of Lordaeron, which is still in the Eastern Kingdoms, well north of Stormwind. And then he goes from being a paladin, weeding out plagues and problems like that in his kingdom, to being succumbed by the Lich King, being turned, and then in the Undead campaign, then you go from following him and Kel'Thuzad and supporting the Lich King and trying to do all that, and then he goes away.
Yes,
like that's it. His first two things sets this gigantic problem up, destroys Lordaeron, everything.
They briefly
create Sylvanas Windrunner.
Don't even give me that. That's the greatest storyline in the world. I don't even care what you people say about the current situation of WoW right now. She's still the best, and I don't want to hear it.
Banshee Queen.
Absolutely.
I don't know what's happening in the current situation of WoW.
It's a whole thing.
It's a thing. But yeah, then we finally get to the third playable race, which is the Orcs, and that's Thrall's storyline.
Yes.
And then that's where Medivh, who you only ever know of Medivh if you read the manual in Warcraft 2, was the guardian of Azeroth, who in Warcraft 1 is the person who opened up the Dark Gate because he was corrupted by the Fel, which they've yet to mention in 1 or 2. They never mentioned that orcs were Fel orcs in 1 or 2 because it was just there. They were green, right? And so then all of a sudden you've got this huge thing where who's Medivh? Why is he telling you to do this? And then that's when Thrall gathers up the orcs and then the rest of them, and then sails across the sea like Christopher Columbus over here.
It was ridiculous.
Yeah. But like he goes,
hopefully without the genocide.
No, there was a lot of genocide.
No, it's just
when the orcs came over. They killed a lot.
The first thing they did was they killed all the Quillbore and Centaur and Harpies.
No, I chose my words carefully, just like Christopher Columbus. They sailed across the sea.
Wow.
Right, and then they reluctantly go across the sea and they establish Orgrimmar, which is a whole mini story you can play in Warcraft 3. It's a whole outside the main campaign. You can do the building of Orgrimmar, and that's really cool. You play as Rexxar, but anyway,
fascinating.
You actually run into the trolls over there. What's left of the trolls because they're pretty much done.
Yeah,
you do gather up some trolls
trolls
actually from the Eastern Kingdom, right? Yeah, because they're getting their butts beat by Murlocs.
And
let's put that in perspective. The trolls
here we go.
are getting beat by Murlocs.
Here we go. And the Naga, thank you very much.
Right,
the Murlocs,
anyway.
Really? The Murlocs.
That's what I'm saying.
Whatever.
It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing.
I'd like to point out that the Tauren got their asses kicked by Harpies.
I mean, he's not wrong.
I feel like
there are a lot of embarrassing losses in this.
Well, I feel like a lot of
these
these creatures though get a bad rap because they are generic enemies in WoW. Like Murlocs are the dumbest fucking enemies in the entire game. You do an amazing Murloc impression. It makes me laugh. Or is it you?
I can't do it, but
That's all right. I like how I said you, and no one listening to this is going to know who I was pointing to.
Nobody's going to correct that.
Anyway, Murlocs are the dumbest fucking creatures in the game, and Harpies are just kind of obnoxious.
They are, but
they swarm so much in WoW. It's nuts. Anyway, that's not. We're talking about Warcraft 3.
No, but like that's the whole point of the Horde gathering is that it's not just like they actually had great story. They said, hey, here's the orcs. They're battered people. The Medivh said, go to Kalimdor.
Yep.
Sail and find Kalimdor.
Take
now
your
all of a
people
sudden
and go.
the world has doubled in size. Kalimdor is just the size of Eastern Kingdoms. You've left the entire problem of Lordaeron to sit and rot in whatever it is. And then you're more now concerned about what What is his name?
Archimonde?
Archimonde. Thank you. I was going to say Archidon. That's not right.
So the entire
coming.
story could be pretty much started off by the Legion, who forced the orcs into the Eastern Kingdoms
In Warcraft 1
through
and
the
2.
Dark Portal. Yep, and they came back through the Dark Portal later. And then it became orcs versus humans, and then they started introducing all these other races.
Right.
But everything could be traced back.
So
to
1 and
the
2 is
Legion.
really just the Burning Legion's attempt to conquer Azeroth without getting their hands dirty. That's all it was.
I bought a book of Warcraft lore. I can literally see it right now.
No, reading's awful. We'll tell you
And
about it.
I need to like but no offense to you guys, but that's a lot more organized than
Ridiculous.
We could just, ping
There's so
pong
much.
around all day.
There's so much to talk
But
about.
yeah, in like the gaming aspect alone, Warcraft 3 was a masterpiece to me because they started introducing different damage types, defense types, heroes.
Before we dive into that, just real quick, just to kind of recap what you guys were all talking about the
Oh,
story
yeah.
for the
Sure.
listener.
Oh, yeah.
Warcraft 3. So since Warcraft 2, Blizzard has already been trying to set up World of Warcraft.
Yes.
Warcraft 3 set up a bunch of different storylines, most of which get unresolved from what I'm like completely unresolved.
The big story gets resolved, and we do apologize, Josh, because we get really excited about Arthas' storyline, and we get really excited about Thrall. And Andrew and I are highly guilty of just forgetting that the Night Elves even exist because nobody cares.
Is that the main
No,
storyline?
No, they're the
No.
fourth. They're the fourth campaign, and
They're
honestly,
the big
I quit
heroes.
Stupid. Night Elves are
Night Elves are technically the heroes of the story.
dumb.
Because Archimonde, who is one of the like generals of the Legion, like super up there, he gets pulled into this world and the world is done. But lo and behold, the Night Elves
Now,
come
you're
and
making it
save
sound
the
awful.
day.
All right, so he comes and he destroys the world. He's trying to destroy the World Tree,
Yes.
which is a raid in Warcraft, and the whole thing is that the World Tree is in Kalimdor, which is why you've never heard of it till now. So he destroys most of the Kirin Tor. He comes across.
You make it sound like I know who that is, but go on.
The Kirin Tor is
No,
a bunch of the mages that Jaden Proudmoore's from.
No, it's
Every
okay.
mage in the game comes from Kirin Tor. The
Human
end.
mage.
Okay. So the Night Elves are the heroes of Warcraft 3 essentially.
Because
Yes.
Go ahead.
Because Archimonde comes and he's trying to destroy the World Tree, which will eventually just destroy Azeroth. But the entire climax of the game, the original, Reign of Chaos, you have the orcs, you have the humans, and you have the Night Elves standing guard. Everybody that came from the Eastern Kingdom
band together.
standing guard and stopping the Legion from destroying the World Tree. And the only way to do that is you have to defend the World Tree for like half an hour or something. So all these ancient wisps can gather up from the Night Elves and detonate against Archimonde, destroying him.
I mean, it's a cool cinematic for sure.
It is an awesome
I mean, all the
cinematic.
cinema. Let me put that out. All the cinematics from Warcraft 3.
I need to play
Beautiful.
Warcraft.
Yes.
Now, with Warcraft 3, I know Blizzard apparently fucked up its remaster of it.
That's
Never
what
played
they
it.
tell me. I liked it.
I hadn't touched it. It looks good.
Well,
but
from
I don't care.
from my understanding is that they, if you bought someone, I think I might be misremembering this. From what I heard, that if you bought the Warcraft 3 remastered, then your original copy of Warcraft 3 just went away. Like if it was
really?
if it was linked to your battle.net account, if
It
you had
automatically upgraded
it
it.
upgrade and then upgrade it, you still have to pay for the upgrade because it's a
Yeah,
remaster.
yeah.
But once you pay for that upgrade, you don't get the original one back. So
I couldn't
any
comment, don't know.
of the mechanical changes, say there was something that you really liked about Warcraft, the original Warcraft 3 and not the remaster, then you're out of luck because you're only going to get the remaster one now.
True.
I don't know if
remember.
that's actually A, still the case, B, if it happened at all. So it's been, I just remember there was some drama around
There always is for the
the
remasters.
yeah.
There's
remaster.
drama from D2 and all that stuff.
Sure.
Crash servers.
Did D2 remaster come out already?
Yep.
Yeah.
Came out
Came out
like
a
a-
couple weeks ago.
Did you guys
Month
get
ago.
it?
A couple months ago.
This is really not long. I didn't
I got
because
it.
I already smashed that game to 100 pieces. I
Did
don't
you-
ever want to play it again.
Did
You
you?
beat it once. And
How dare you? I haven't seen you beat it yet.
I did.
All the way through Hell mode.
Yeah.
All the way through Hell mode.
Yeah.
And
beat
what character?
a necromancer, the top tier class.
Ridiculous.
Wrong subject. Let's move on. Necromancers for life.
Uh-huh.
But no, did you like it though? The remaster,
Yeah, it's great.
Diablo 2.
It's they really
I know
didn't
that's off
change
topic,
anything
but I'm just curious.
except, quality of life and just a little bit better graphics.
That's what they did in Reforged Warcraft 3 too. Is that they made the models sharper
Yes.
and more up to date now. Most of the
That's it.
gameplay should be the same because there's nothing wrong with the gameplay. It was very balanced.
I don't remember any changes, like very specific changes from Warcraft 3 to Warcraft 3 Reforged.
I might have to look that up while you guys are talking
That's fine.
too. But
I can
anyway,
talk about another topic if you want.
well,
How
well,
is
we
your
still have to
mother?
talk about. We have to keep going through Warcraft 3. Of
Well, that's what
course.
I'm saying.
Oh, yeah.
Another topic about that. I can tell
Obviously,
you
it's going to
that.
be Warcraft 3.
Oh yeah,
but,
yeah.
I
I can
Alright,
tell you that again, kind of pointing out there's 4 campaigns, 4 different races now. Where it just used to be human and orc. They added undead and night elves
Yes.
specifically to it.
It's a shame that trolls didn't get more love because the elves just kept expanding more and more in Warcraft 2, and then in
Right.
Warcraft 3 they were big enough to have their own race.
Right, yeah, because in the Warcraft 3 Frozen Throne expansion, the high elves no longer exist. They've now called themselves blood elves
Yes.
because they got magic addicted, like
Yes.
good old users.
They destroyed the Sunwell. Arthas destroyed the Sunwell
Yes.
to revive Kel'Thuzad.
Yep.
And after destroying the Sunwell, all elves lost their immortality and they became addicted to mana because of the withdrawal.
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
And so they actually got folded into the human race
Yes.
in Warcraft 3
Yep.
as like spell stealers and stuff like that.
Yep.
They were pretty cool.
Classic.
So I did find a Reddit thread, but this is also from a year ago, so I don't know how accurate it is. Blizzard removed the option to download the Classic client from Battle.net and forced owners of Classic to update to the Reforged client. So that was a thing that I don't know if they've reversed it since then, but that was a thing. Matchmaking no longer works half the time. Games are found but not
Now you
started.
be careful.
Campaign missions will occasionally not load and immediately give the player the defeat upon loading or delete save files.
You lose.
Now upgrade.
Custom games seem to be broken with people unable to create lobbies and games randomly disconnecting quite often. And then he goes, for what it's worth, the forced update removed the classic Frozen Throne title screen, which upset a lot of people.
Yeah,
Which,
that was a good one.
the great thing about the new title screen is that the background process for the title screen, which seems to be continually running, takes up 300 megs of RAM and uses more than 5% of an i7 CPU load,
but it looks
completely
good.
ruining the performance on older computers.
Now, again, you got to be
it
careful.
has to be real older.
Yeah, you got to be careful though too because it's a Reddit user.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
mean, you can read a whole bunch of negative reviews from Diablo 2 remake about how
Sure.
the servers are crashing, you can't connect, blah blah blah. And
It
it's
seems
true.
like all that stuff seems like stuff that could be fixed easily. I would say the actual legit issue I would have with it is the making, like, not being able to
Sure.
buy the original client, and if you own the original client, the forced update that you did not necessarily consent to just because the game exists. Like,
Keep your
that's kind
hardware,
of bullshit.
People. Keep your hardware.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
We have the physical disc still. Oh, I do.
Physical forever, digital never. No, it's-
So yeah, we could talk about the Warcraft 3 lore for like literal hours, but I mean,
Yeah,
is there an aspect you
I
wanted to go
feel
over?
like I feel like Warcraft lore could be an episode in and of itself. And I think that actually might be beneficial to do
Oh my God.
whenever I do a World of Warcraft episode. Like, do make that a month of Warcraft where it's like World of Warcraft, and then for those, either that. I recently announced that my Patreon's actually going to be doing stuff because my Patreon was like pretty much dead. I didn't do anything.
Crazy.
So if this is something you listeners would like, I think Warcraft lore episode would be a good Patreon episode because it's so hyper specific and only people who give a shit about Warcraft would be able to really follow it.
Right.
Because I would, like, right now you're throwing out a lot of names I barely know.
There are dozens and
Oh, yeah.
dozens of factions,
Yeah.
each with their own background,
And it's-
You know, I
that can
thought-
originate back
You know, I
into
thought
Warcraft
Ner'zhul
1.
was a cultist for the longest time.
Nope, he was the original Lich King.
Yep.
Okay, there we go. See,
Also, he was Gul'dan was his apprentice.
Yes. Every
See,
Crypt
these
Lord in
names.
the game says for Ner'zhul
And
when
we're like,
you spawn them.
who's Ner'zhul?
Yeah, exactly. I was like, I don't know who Ner'zhul
That's
is.
never talked about ever in
They
the
like
game itself.
very, very briefly touch on it when you go to Northrend with Arthas.
Yeah,
I think.
maybe. I didn't know who it was till a long time after.
Yeah.
but if listeners, if a Warcraft lore episode is something you would be interested in, let me know. Email me stillloadingcontact@gmail.com or hit me up on any of the social media stuff. I would, if this is something you'd want in the free feed, I will gladly put it in the free feed.
Oh yeah, for the free feed, we're absolutely willing to give you our knowledge of lore right now, unchecked, unfact checked.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's the key. Unfact checked,
unorganized.
Definitely unorganized. This will be a chaotic mess of lore.
It's gonna be great.
A reign of chaos.
Tying
it all back together. Warcraft 3.
Okay.
So with that said, though, like you're saying, there's a lot of lore in Warcraft 3 and in just Warcraft in general. But what does Warcraft 3 do different than its predecessor?
Oh, it makes everything great. That's what it
In
did.
the terms of lore or
Gameplay.
Okay. Yeah, gameplay. It was night and day from Warcraft 2. They took everything that Warcraft 2 took from Warcraft 1, and then they just made it infinitely better.
And you gotta remember, with Warcraft 3, they'd already launched StarCraft.
Yes.
So they had these are two different games, even though they're two different RTSs. StarCraft was very much a pump out mass units and get out there and have big wars, which was really cool.
They limited the number of resources in that too. Wasn't in Warcraft 2 there's 3 resources you could gather?
At the very end of Warcraft 2, you could get wood, gold, and then oil.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Warcraft 2, you just went back to just gold and wood.
Yep.
That's it. In StarCraft, it was always minerals and Vespian gas.
Yep.
So they always had it as 2.
Well, it's always been 2. Okay,
Always
I wasn't
been
sure
2.
because that was one of the big innovations of Blizzard's RTSs in general was that they had a lot less resources that you needed to manage compared to. I love it, but like Age of Empires, you have 4.
Oh my god. Yeah.
You have wood, food, gold, and
That's because
ore
in
and
those kind of
iron,
games,
essentially.
you build a city.
Yes.
In this, it's just, hey, let's get in there, let's make some units, let's bash them in their heads against each other.
The whole thing was the importance of the units. Your
Yeah.
base was fine.
Yeah, you didn't have to really have defenses. Not really. The
And even
towers
if-
were trash in Warcraft 3.
I was just gonna say, even if you did make defenses, if you have a solid army, those defenses are useless. You
Yeah.
always have a couple catapults on standby just for that stuff.
Right. So the big thing, the big difference here is that I want to point out is that StarCraft had already rolled out. So they already mastered mass units. They upped StarCraft's population limit to 200 units. You could have 200 Marines on the screen if you wanted. It's ridiculous. Big fights. But
Yes.
Warcraft 3 separated itself.
Or one of your favorite famous memories, over 200
I don't want to hear
overlords.
it. Nope, I don't want to hear it. Thank you, Doomer. I appreciate you teaching me how to play.
Shout out to Doomer.
I'm actually recording a StarCraft episode later this year with somebody, and
that's
I'm going to retell.
Oh yeah,
that
no, I
story.
had okay. So 2 things about Doomer here, which was really just
a friend of yours.
a
I'm
friend of
assuming.
ours, like a little bit of an older friend of
Yeah.
ours when we were like 14 or whatever. He was
Don't
like,
let him know you just called him older though.
yeah, I mean he's old man Doomer. We call him that. So he taught me how to play because I was awful at StarCraft, and just to be a dick, he would roll Zerg and then he would just birth overlords. They're just floating things. And in StarCraft 2, if enough of an overlord floats over an area, you can't click under it. So all he did was float over like 200 overlords in my base, and there's never a cap on overlords because they are the population makers.
Yep.
So he floats them over, and I can't click on anything because he had so many in my base, and I was just a kid that I didn't have any defenses.
That'll
really.
teach you not to
So,
set hotkeys.
so it was awful, right? And I just sat there, and I was like, "This is fine." And then he
Accepted
just
defeat.
yeah, I just accepted defeat. He just had a couple Zerglings in and cleaned me up because I couldn't click on anything.
And
So that
all
was
your
funny.
Marines were shooting at the overlords and not
Yes,
the Zerglings
exactly.
attacking
Oh, it
them.
was so dumb. And then he also taught me how to this really nifty cheat in Quake 3, which is really cool, where he pressed a couple of buttons on my keyboard in the console. And then he's like, now try and move. And I would try and move my keyboard, and my keyboard was disabled. And I was really impressed. But all I did was reach behind it and unplug my keyboard.
Amazing.
What a good troll move. That's
What a
wild.
great guy. What a
Very easy to, trick kids.
yeah, for sure. But so StarCraft had the mass units,
Yes.
but Warcraft 3 limited you to less than 100 units. But every unit took 2 to 3 population to make, except for like peasants were 1. So
I
you didn't
think
actually
the
have 100.
absolute largest unit ended up being like 8 food.
Yeah, and that was like the Night Elves.
You're talking
treants or
about
something like that.
You're talking about the Tauren warriors, the
Yeah.
human knights.
So you don't get 100
Night
dudes.
Elves,
You
yeah.
might get like 20 dudes on the field, really. And then what they ended up doing is that most of these units now have activated abilities.
Yes.
So you could press tab. You can select a lot. You can select everybody at once now. There's not limited. So you can select everybody. And then you
No,
can
it was maxed out at 12.
Was it still?
Oh,
That's
yeah.
right. They introduced grouping. I don't even think grouping was a thing in
No.
Warcraft 2.
I don't think so. No.
No, but you could do groups though.
I
So
mean,
you
they
could
had
control
groups
one,
in,
control
in
two.
StarCraft 1,
Right.
but it was still limited. Like, you could only have it in groups of 12, I
Yeah,
think, in
True,
that as well.
But the reason with Warcraft it was even more limited than that is because again you could hit tab through those units that you've selected, and then you can click on their names and activate an ability. And almost every more than just the advanced foot soldier had an activated ability, and that's where the game got real
Yes.
tactical. It's not just moving people in to fight each other now. You can control A, but it's now in while you're fighting. Like for example, the humans, right? Or I mean even
Every race.
every race had a thing.
It got super crazy with the Night Elves because they had 2 different kinds of druids,
Oh my
which had
God,
2
yeah.
different kinds of spells each.
And they can shape shift too, which gives
Which
different
opened up,
stuff.
It got very, very
insane.
specific. Where StarCraft was, you build a whole bunch of units and you maneuver them where you need to be. In Warcraft, it went the exact opposite route. You made 2 dozen units, and each one had a very key role to play.
Yes, and if it died, then that was a big thing. Like the orcs had the shamans that could put down the healing totems. That was big. Then you had to make sure that as
Witch
the opposing
doctors.
factor, witch doctors. Thank you. I knew that was wrong. But then
A
the
troll,
shamans-
thank you very much.
Yeah, so they finally contribute. And then the shamans had bloodlust too, but I think they could only do it
Yes.
to individual people. at
Yes,
that
it was
time.
an auto cast, and it
Yes.
was only 1 unit per cast.
So it got very much more tactical with it, not just smash guys up. And the
Yes.
whole aspect we haven't even touched on yet is heroes.
yes, where the previous games like Warcraft 2 and StarCraft had hero units. They were just individual units that were just stronger, very specific unit types that were just
yeah,
stronger
StarCraft
units.
had that too, but only
Yeah,
in the
exactly.
campaign as well.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
they were still super weak.
Yes, like General Duke had his own flying
No,
battle
he was
cruiser.
awesome. You
which-
could repair him though because he was
Yes.
a machine.
but he was just a standard battle cruiser that was just a little bit stronger. In Warcraft 3, they introduced true hero units. You get 1 unit that leveled up, and then you could invest skill points into how you wanted to build that hero.
Yeah, to a degree. It goes to 10 levels, and it was like the like League of Legends kind of game.
Yeah.
Where you get your 3 main abilities as you level. You get to pick one, you level again, you pick another, you can upgrade the
But
skill
that
again.
level resets on every. On
Sure,
every
yeah.
player.
But then
yeah,
at level
yeah.
6, you get that hero's ultimate ability. So you can upgrade the 3 base ones. At level 6, they get the ultimate, which is obviously a big move. And then they go all the way to level 10. So more health, more damage, more everything. And then each race in Warcraft 3 Reign of Chaos, there were 3 heroes. And then in Frozen Throne, they introduced
4
another
heroes.
hero. And then they also introduced the mercenary hut. So you could hire heroes. And that had like a dozen heroes you could hire there too.
The fascinating thing that was each hero defined your gameplay.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Yep. You can have all 3 heroes. You could make it.
Yep.
It got really expensive, and you would have varying level heroes. So even late game, if you got your 3rd hero, it consumed a lot of food. So
Yep.
that would take from your army, and then they would be weaker because it's not leveled.
Yes.
Because even though in other RTSs you go out there and you smash face against each other and try and win ground, in 3. In multiplayer games too, and even in single player, there were mercenary camps, like enemy mercenary camps. So you don't fight the other hero, which you do. You fight the other player's army and gain experience. But early game Warcraft 3 wasn't just sitting around twiddling your thumbs waiting to gather resources. It was you make 1 or 2 guys that escort your hero around to these mercenary camps, and you kill these NPCs that are on the field. And then that levels up your hero to
You
make
get
them stronger for the
experience.
future fights against your foe. And those monsters, there was an inventory system
Yep.
for your hero, so they
That's a
could get
whole
gear.
other thing, too.
Yeah,
I feel like Warcraft 3 specifically really just kind of created this new one of the rare instances where it took an existing genre, the RTS, in this instance RTS, and added a whole new mechanic that really changed the way the game was played. Like,
oh yeah, push it forward for sure.
because like you even now a lot of RTSs still kind of stick to the same basic formula, but like that once Warcraft 3 came out, that's when you would start seeing games like the Dawn of War games that also had hero unit mechanics. And that was a whole new thing. Like the hero unit was a new addition to the RTS genre. It's like, well, what if we had just that one guy that you could like customize so entire, like much more than any of the other units. Like you can't customize your units normally in RTSs. In this, you can. So I think even if you take out how adding hero units created Dota effectively, like that added a whole new wrinkle to the RTS genre. Like as much as Warcraft 2 was groundbreaking in terms of its popularity, I feel like Warcraft 3 was groundbreaking in terms of its gameplay.
Oh, sure, because the custom games you could create. That's when they introduced the custom game maker, and you could create them. And that's where Blizzard has corrected themselves now, where now in the StarCraft 2 custom maker, anything you make is technically owned by Blizzard.
Yeah.
Because they saw that they done gone goofed when anything you made in Warcraft 3 was just yours. They didn't care. It wasn't theirs legally. Anything you make in StarCraft 2 is theirs legally too if they want to use it.
That's so messed up.
Because they missed against Defense of the Ancients, which led on to League of Legends, and then they missed that whole market. Now they're competing League of Legends, and they came out with
Heroes of the Storm.
Right? Like it's not their idea. Right, but these other companies spawned off of Warcraft 3's custom game making tools.
That's a fair point too, because it's like, as much as I would like to think of like, well, they're just stealing someone's creative ideas. I'm like, yes, but they also, like, those people just made an entire living off of basically. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's still a lot of work to create a mod, like a really well made mod. But
there's tons of terrible custom games out there.
Like you don't. It doesn't need to be a lot of work. They used their whole gameplay engine to do that. It's crazy.
I'm not sure about this genre, but you could even look at those Warcraft 3 custom games and the StarCraft custom games, and they eventually set like the ground for the entire tower defense genre.
Oh, sure. 100%. Yeah. Not Diablo 3. Warcraft 3 had a lot of tower defense games that were really cool, and because Warcraft 3 had different weapon damage types with their piercing, the medium armor, heavy armor, they could make tower defense a lot different.
I wonder where the tower defense genre originated.
I was just thinking that.
I've been doing this whole history of RTS things. Should I do one, like, look into the history of tower defense games? The first one I ever played it was those shitty Flash ones on
the Gemcraft.
Bloons. I played Bloons.
Whoa,
Bloons isn't shitty.
Bloons is fantastic.
Bloons is great.
Recently beat the hell out of Bloons 6.
There's a 6 one.
Yeah, they went pretty high. There's a lot of them.
I played Bloons 4 a lot.
It was a great game.
I love Bloons. It's such a crazy idea.
Oh, absolutely. I mostly remember the tower defense genre from StarCraft 1 custom games.
Yeah, but it got really good. Even I think Warcraft 3 even came with a stock tower defense.
Yeah.
What was that called?
I couldn't tell you that one.
Oh man, I don't remember. Yeah, I think it actually came with a stock tower defense one that they actually had.
But because of how Warcraft 3 was made with matching armor and damage types, it opened the doorway for a lot of stuff.
Right. It's not just 5 damage to any unit. It's like, 5 damage if you're this or that, and double if you have that, or chaos damage was true damage.
It almost added kind of like what Diablo 2 had with synergies type of thing. Like you would
synergies isn't. Oh,
maybe not. Maybe it wasn't synergistic, because like synergistic would be like, you have like in Diablo 2 with the skill trees, like you have your base level skill, so you'll every time you level up that one skill, it levels up the attack, but it'll also contribute to a skill that's farther along the skill tree. Is there anything like that in Warcraft 3?
No.
So it's not actually synergistic, but it
mostly stopped people from what they were doing in StarCraft 1, just massing one thing.
Yeah,
like aircraft carriers.
Yeah, exactly.
for Protoss.
Yep. Great strategy, by the way. But the first unit you can make with the Night Elves is the Ranger, the Archer. And if you try and mass them, the first unit that humans can make is the Footmen.
And you beat.
Yeah, you're done. It's over.
Because Footmen have the ability, and then you have to research it, sure, but they have the shield block, which just says that 70% of piercing damage incoming is negated. So, and then they move slow.
It's like half speed, but
But-
it's a tide you cannot stop
No, and
with
then
just archers.
The archers are flimsy, so as soon as the knight get up there, it's over. It's done. You beat.
And if it's blocking 70% of the damage, that's a lot of
Yes.
fucking
Yeah, well,
blocking.
that's all they do.
That's
so
huge.
They really balance these 4 classes in Warcraft 3
Yes.
out very perfectly.
They did
The
an
humans
excellent job.
were very well rounded. The orcs were all straight up, straight brawn. Like they were the easiest to play. The orcs just go in, they hit you, and then the Tauren hit you, and then hard. There's
Right.
no skills.
Whoa, orcs have a lot. Well, the orc faction has a lot of skills.
I guess. Well, we got a healing
got-
totem and bloodlust.
Whoa!
What else you got?
Stasis totem. That is a game-changing totem.
What is that? I can't
After
remember
4 seconds, it erupts and it stuns every enemy unit in that vicinity.
Right, I forget about that because you can destroy it so easily, and the healing is so much
Yes,
better.
but
I
if
don't
you
have to do anything,
don't,
folks.
you have to
I just
actively.
let them go.
oh
I just wind them up and let them go.
yeah, we had
If you
these
don't
conversations.
destroy them,
Yeah.
you're gonna lose because it stuns you for like 4 seconds.
That's true. It's big. But it's like,
It's the
has,
same
like-
with the healing totems. If you ignore
Well, true,
it,
yeah.
it's gonna just heal at the
Well, that's the
enemy to
thing.
heal up.
And when you ever played a match against Warcraft 3 against somebody, you would take these giant armies and they would start clashing, and then before they even got like 3 hits in, they'd run away from
Yes.
each other, and then go again and run away from each other because there were so many AoE skills. Like humans
Oh my
had Blizzard,
God.
so if you just let Blizzard rain on your army,
It's
you're
over.
done. So they ran as soon as they started casting, they just run away from each other. If a healing totem got put down and they can't reach it with range to destroy it, they just run away from each other.
Yep.
So you just run away and you chip at each other. You don't actually
Yep.
do a straight fight.
If you committed to a fight, you better
need-
be ready.
You better win, or you better
Yes.
like even out with them, because then they're just going to march on
Yes.
your town before you can even get anything back together.
There were a lot of very powerful moves, both not only hero based but unit based. Like if you let the orcs build up momentum, get bloodlust going, you really don't want to do
Bloodlust
that.
with the Taurens, and then if you get the Tauren upgrade, they have a chance to do AoE damage to
Yes.
everyone around
Yep.
them, and then and they're the heavy units. So
And then there's the Night Elves, where they have the Druid of the Claw. They turn into these powerful bears. They have rejuvenation.
oh yeah, rejuvenation was crazy.
Oh my God.
That's
they
mass
had
healing.
the Druid of what the hell were they called? The Talon?
Yeah, Talon.
I didn't use them as much, but they had Fairy Fire, which almost negated all your armor. They
Great
had-
against enemy heroes.
Yeah, they had Cyclone, which took a enemy unit out of the battle for like 12 seconds.
That's
Yeah.
a long amount of
Oh,
time.
yeah, because the battle would
Could that unit still be take,
can't be
take
used.
damage?
It became
But could
completely
it-
invulnerable.
Okay, but it's just
just
out.
not, okay. That's a little more.
So it's a
fair.
good way to also like catch an enemy hero in the air, and if you beat their army hard enough, and then they have to withdraw, well, the enemy
get a
hero's
couple
there,
free
then you
kills.
can surround it, and they can't go anywhere, and you get him too. There's so many so many tactics. In
That
Warcraft
alone
3.
is one of the defining undead tactics. They have a hero called the Dreadlord. One of his primary abilities is sleep. It puts a single enemy unit or enemy hero asleep for, I think, a maximum of like 18 seconds.
Yeah, if you like max all the way
If
out.
you leave him alone, the enemy units or the enemy force will come surround it and then just one
just get
verse
'em.
like 40.
Yep. So like Andrew was saying, there's in the expansion there's 4, but in the original rated cast there's 3 heroes per faction, and depending on what hero you picked defines your gameplay. The humans had Uther, which was really great. Uther. Where he
Uther
could
Lightbringer.
his level 6 was to resurrect 6 guys that had died in a recent battle. So you're fighting, the enemy starts clearing some of your guys. Nope. Back on the field, and then they keep going.
Of course, there's always the Undead Knight, who is the undead hero, and he has a similar but different ultimate ability, which just revives 12 units.
Yeah, temporary
Yes.
revives them as zombies to fight for you. They'll eventually die from time.
They retain all their skills, but they only live for like a minute.
But you get a ton of them. And then the whole undead thing is necromancy. That every time somebody dies, they raise 2 skeletons in their place, friend or foe. And so there's tons of tactics. The blade hunter, the
Blade Master.
blade master with the orcs. What a dick combo that was. All he did, because he can go invisible, and then he's like a true rogue. He can go invisible. He can get double strike, so there's a % chance to swing twice for once.
Yeah.
So all you do is you walk into somebody's base invisible, you find their peasants, their peons, their wisps, and you just murk them. And then they ran out of money because they've been too busy paying attention to making units, and then they can't make any more peons, and then you just effectively have ended their game right there.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's no reselling in Warcraft. You have money or you don't. So, oops.
The entire gameplay of Warcraft 3 has a lot of possibilities. It's not just, hey, humans are just strong because of their knights. It's you can make a well-rounded army, have healers, have crowd control, like every faction.
The more I listen to this, more just kind of reminds it really. It's so interesting to me that it has all this because it so was. It was obviously the predecessor to World of Warcraft because it was the game that came out right before World of Warcraft in the series. Yep. But also in terms of its gameplay mechanics, it's very much a predecessor of WoW's PvP. Like and PvE to an extent. Like you were saying, crowd control and all these different.
It pulls the classes.
It really feels like it made players micromanage their combat a lot more than in their previous art. And like StarCraft was already pretty micromanaged intensive for its battle but this it's hyper focus. So you're not creating, like you were saying, these large armies. You have this smaller army, but you have to know how to manage it. You have to use these skills. I'd be awful at this game, but it sounds awesome.
It was bad. It was bad.
There's so many ways you can do it that it's just overwhelming. Like there's so many different options. Like
you have to pick one, commit to it, and go fast. You can't just like, ooh, what did they do? No, you have to just do what you do and then hope it works out for you.
Because each unit you can upgrade like 3 times and unlock either different skills or different passives.
You have to buy each of the caster's abilities in every race. So you don't just like, oh, I unlocked the shaman, I have bloodlust. No, you unlock the shaman, you get lightning shield.
Yes.
It's awful. I mean, it's fine. It's good. It's good. But it's not bloodlust. So you have to buy bloodlust now that you're able to make shamans to make them better.
I mean, that's a lot of other RTSs though, where like you can finally create a unit and now you're able to research abilities for that unit.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
I mean, they've done that in StarCraft. They've done that in Age of Empires. They've done that in Rise of Nations. Like there's
the
tons
defining difference to me though is those are usually just like a passive upgrade. Let's make their weapons better. Let's make their armor.
Sometimes it's new abilities though.
Sure.
But this seems like it's more focused on new.
Yeah, it's
more
like
abilities.
if you don't have bloodlust, but you have shaman, like what are you doing? Why?
Pretty much.
Yeah,
like lightning shield is great.
it's great.
If you put this lightning shield on, that's why you don't put it on your team.
I know you put it on their team.
Exactly, and if they do not move that unit, it's going to kill the units around it.
Yeah, it's good.
But there's so many different ways to go. Like with the undead, like you can focus heavily on just necromancers. Like build your team around that, and suddenly you've got an army of the undead, or splash into like the banshees, which are powerful units,
and they possess other units too. So that was their version of like the mind control.
Yes, they could
anti-spell
curse
shields.
Enemy units, have anti-spell shields. Cursing just straight up made that unit miss a third of the time.
Right.
And then if you run into like, oh hey, there's a powerful enemy unit on the team, you just possess it.
Yep. It's like, oh, there's a Tarn over there. Yeah, there's 2 of mine now. Yeah. Because you never have more than 2 or 3 Tarns because they're each like
a lot
six
of gold.
production and gold. Yeah. So you take there's so many tactics.
It's like Warcraft 3 is to me like very pinnacle RPG RTS.
Yeah.
It's a lot of micromanaging. It's a very heavily skill-based game. Like,
and with that said, Andrew forewent the skill of the game, and all he ever would do in multiplayer is play the heroes. So that really helped me out. That was really great.
You could have people like
you can just roll 4 heroes if you want.
Yes,
a hero was like 10 food or 8 food, but if you wanted to, and you're going to lose, by the way, if you 1-on-1. But Andrew would always support me because he would just go into a race and then just all 4 of his heroes he would craft and then he would level them up. So I'd have my hero and an army and then he would just have his 4 heroes. So his abilities were great. They're phenomenal, but
they're not going to win the fight for you.
You become a support player in the team battles.
Yes.
Yeah. And then one of our friends, Marcus, he makes the exact same strategy every round, which is you make the Mountain King. Oh yeah, you always lose because it's a terrible strategy.
Right. That, and he already knows what his strategy is going to be.
You make the Mountain King, who is a very powerful warrior unit with a very long stun.
Focus, Moda.
He'd hate you if he heard you say, you got it wrong.
I know.
You got to shout, Avatar.
That's also true.
But you have a very powerful unit in its own right, and if you run into him, it's going to be a bad time. But all he does is he makes that unit and like 24 riflemen because they are cool, but they're not going to stop an army.
No.
But you've got strategies like that that just don't work.
Now, what else? Is there anything else you guys want to touch on? Because we are running along on time. It's
we
been.
can talk forever on this.
Is there anything else you want to touch on before we move to the trivia round?
Wrath of Lich King. Oh, sorry, Wrath of Lich King. Jesus, that's the wrong expansion. Frozen Throne, the expansion, well worth it just as much.
Yes.
By the way, that really set up that recouped back with Arthas and put him on the throne. That made sure that you knew Illidan was second place, which his name we haven't even dropped yet.
And isn't Illidan the main villain of Burning Crusade?
Yes.
How dare you? He's not a villain. He's hiding out.
He's the protagonist.
So in the Night Elf,
Or sorry,
he's the
antagonist.
He is
Excuse
technically
me.
he is the antagonist. He's not the villain. It's a very clever twist because they build him up to be this super evil bad guy, but it turns out he is literally the only person on Azeroth that is trying to stop the bad guy, the Legion.
Right, because the Night Elves are all very hoity-toity, high in power, very old school because they lived thousands of years. So his thing is that he gets banished, and then he pretty much flees to Outlands, and he tries to make a kingdom for himself there. And all he's really doing
the Legion.
is really just hiding out and gathering his forces to fight the Legion because the Legion's coming for him. That's all that is.
And then Burning Crusade is when all the people from Azeroth break through and they see him there, like, we gotta get him.
Yeah,
kind
pretty
of.
much.
Yeah. I mean,
He was here for us. He was here originally, and we still hate him.
Yeah,
so
if
we're
you-
gonna go hate him some more. And
If you look at the little details of Shadow Moon Valley in Warcraft, it's not just Illidan's forces there. Illidan's forces are just at the temple. It's the Legion that you're fighting in most of Shadow Moon that's trying to get to Illidan. So, I mean, everybody says Illidan's bad, which is why you're kind of like, whatever, doing your thing. But it's just because the Legion opened up the portal, and the portal goes back there. So it's very... There's no bad guy in Warcraft. That's the crazy thing. There's no bad guy. Everybody is just, from their point of view, doing what they feel.
would you
right.
argue that the Fel and the Burning Legion are
They're
bad guys?
they're the true bad guy, if you will.
But they're
'Cause they go
it's
planet
more of
to
but
planet.
their idea is more of just like evil as a concept. So it's like they're
It's
not even direct.
It's the same way as calling the Zerg, the Scourge from StarCraft, evil.
Yeah.
They're not evil, they just are what they are. Like, even the Legion is just trying to purify existence by,
Destroying it.
killing existence.
killing everybody else. Yeah,
Destroying
exactly.
itself. Yeah.
But so they're very evil, but they are what they are. Evil.
Right. You watch Futurama
So,
again.
Yeah, that's really all we have to say about Warcraft 3. I mean, we go on forever about the
I
Because about-
but it's a
completely
great game.
I completely forgot air units. We didn't touch on air units at all.
Is that in Warcraft 3?
and
And
Warcraft 2.
Wow.
They very briefly introduced it into Warcraft 2.
Very
which
expensive,
was,
but very overpowered because you had to have archers in order to fight them.
Yep.
You either had the red dragons on the orc side or the griffins, and they did the splash damage that catapults did, but from the air. So
Yep.
only archers could take them out, and they had lots of health too. So it was ridiculous. In Warcraft 3, they toned down the area, except for wyverns. Wyverns were sick.
They expanded it,
Yeah.
but they toned it down. There's a lot more options. They got scouting units,
Yeah,
but they have also got
ways to
really-
knock them down
Yes.
and deal with them more than just having an archer.
yes.
Air units were crazy.
You could just sneak a transport shuttle into the back of somebody's base, drop them off, kill.
Yeah, you
all
couldn't
their
do that in
units.
number 2. There was no such thing as air transport. There was only sea transport.
Yep.
That's cool. I like that type of stuff. All right, let's move on though. We've discussed in length Warcraft 2 and 3. Obviously, I feel like you could, if I knew more about each of these games, I would actually want to do full episodes on each of them. I feel like you could, but I'm gonna have maybe in like a couple of years we'll come back and like do an episode just on Warcraft 2 and just on Warcraft 3. But since we were kind of moving along through my history of RTS series, I wanted to make sure that I have. I wanted to make sure that I at least devote an entire episode to Warcraft in general, just because it is such a monumental series outside of the RTS genre at that too. So let's dive into this Warcraft Trivial Pursuit questionnaire.
Yeah. So there are 6 different types of questions on this. Different like it's like a lore, in-game stuff, armor stuff, battle stuff. So I'll tell you right now, we'll probably get most of these wrong, just because there's tons of questions. Some are like very Warcraft specific.
They get super specific. You don't have to bother with that dice.
I was gonna.
Yeah,
it was just gonna be easier for me to pick. So there's a dice that,
right, there you go.
depending on what you roll, determines the category. And I figured I would just kind of roll it.
Hey, there you go.
I didn't want to make any noises, but we'll see what
Whatever.
happens.
Some of those
Just a dice roll.
questions get super specific, and then there are some that are just like, who leads the orcs?
All right, so this is the first one here.
You got Andrew and me. What are we doing here?
Well, it's
Who knows it first?
Well, we'll start.
This is who knows it first.
You want us to do like an obnoxious buzzer noise? Or?
How about you just raise your hand and I'll call your name out so the listener can know who got it
Fair
first.
enough.
Do you want me
That
to
way-
scratch the mic a bit to get your
Oh
attention?
yeah, that'd be great.
Do it.
So the first question is, what is the name of the legendary sword that was once
Frostmourne.
wielded by
Ashbringer.
Dang it.
that was once wielded by the Prince of Air Thunderon? Thunderon.
And Darian.
Oh,
neither of those, by the way, guys.
No, completely wrong.
That was we just guessed at that. Neither of that.
What's his name?
Thunderon, Thunder, and then AAN at the end.
Thunder Fury, Blessed Blade of the
Yeah,
Wind,
that's
something.
Yeah,
Thunder Fury,
Fury.
Blessed
Point
Blade of the
for
Wind
Andrew.
Seeker.
Whatever.
Thunder Fury.
Honestly, it gets spammed so much in general
know.
chat that I just ignore it, and I could not tell you what the second half of it
I know.
was.
You just
I see Thunder Fury and I'm
that's
out.
it.
So 1 point for Andrew. We're gonna do 10 questions, and
All right, we'll do it.
we'll see.
Get your
see,
ish together.
And then we're gonna play afterwards anyway. But go
Oh,
ahead.
absolutely.
The zones of Stilthalus, Desolus, and Stone
Western
Talon
Kingdoms.
Mountains are located
Eastern
on
King-
which
no,
Oh,
continent?
I'm
it's
sorry.
Kalimdor.
Kalimdor.
Jamie got
Damn
that by a split second.
Western Kingdoms, not a thing.
They are
Kalimdor.
kingdoms on the Western
There's
continent.
no kingdoms over there. There's wastelands.
I'm gonna have to really edit this.
It's fine.
Just
Everything's
a wall
fine.
of blue. All right. So with this one here, what are players attempting to capture the this is I can't do this one. This is a battlegrounds one. That's not it's not a lore question.
Is it Arathai Basin?
Yeah. Well, no.
No, it was Relic.
Oh, because remember,
What
it
are
goes
they
all the way up
attempting to
There's a whole
capture?
bunch of battlegrounds. I don't know.
You
All
can
right.
just pick ones you like.
Yeah, that's true. He doesn't know anything. He might
So?
not know them.
Pick one that sounds cool.
These colors make no fucking sense.
Oh, there's like a whole thing. That
You don't
tells
That's
make
you
probably
so much.
yellow then. Okay. Who are two of the three Bronzebeard brothers? So I guess
Murden
Murden?
and
Wow.
come on.
The Wildhammer guy.
No, screw the Wildhammer guy.
Wait, the Dark Iron dude then?
The Explorer.
this is interesting when you're both trying to yell.
Murden Bronzebeard, by the way, is his name.
Yeah.
And then there's two other types of dwarves that rule the dwarves. But Murden is the biggest one because he was actually in Warcraft.
Murden
3.
is one of the three.
Bad with names.
Wait, hold on.
And
Wow, I don't know. Murden's the only one that matters. Dwarves are dumb.
Braun?
Braun.
Bron.
Thank you.
Well done.
All
Bron,
right.
Bronzebeard? That's an awful name.
All right. We have two.
Stupid dwarves.
two for Andrew,
Listeners, you
one
should
for
know that
Jamie.
we roll Horde for the Horde.
Absolutely. Horde for life.
In fact, I'll go for the Forsaken as a little niche.
Trolls, man.
This
Yeah.
They
is-
don't even have a saying.
Shut up.
oh my god.
What? Just pick one.
No, these are all WoW
They-
specific ones.
Well, that makes sense.
All right, hold on. Yeah, we'll do this. Razormane and Bristleback are
Quillboar.
two
Quillboar.
competing tribes of which monster race? I think that was
Andrew.
Andrew.
That was me.
First, yeah.
I know I did.
Yeah,
All right.
We really need buzzers.
I know.
That's kind of funny. We just did the one before about like the different like where are these zones located, which continent?
Oh
and
yeah,
there's
Kalimdor again.
Eastern Kingdoms.
Which is not a Kalimdor zone?
Oh jeez.
Desolus, Stilthalus, Mulgore, or Silverpine Forest?
Silverpine
Silver
Forest.
Pine.
Jamie.
Damn it.
For the Forsaken.
Expletive deleted.
It's funny because even though I didn't see Jamie's face, I knew what his thought process was. The first he's like, all those are in Kalimdor. The fourth one has to be. So
Yeah.
whatever it is, I just have to yell the
Silverpine,
fourth one
Silverpine.
before.
No, that's his
Enter.
undead zone.
Yeah. Thanks, right.
Who is the founder of Dark Moon Fair? Of the Dark Moon
Oh,
Fair.
you
I
know
don't
what?
know
They
that
actually
one.
just came out with this in. They just came out with this in the classic I was playing, and I honestly don't know. I never messed around with Dark Moon
No.
Fair. I forget. I couldn't tell you.
I don't know.
All right,
that
we'll
answer.
scrap the one. It was Silas Darkmoon.
No,
yeah,
didn't
I
know
couldn't
it.
tell you.
Let's see. In addition to Arthas, what other prince sought the affections of Jaina Proudmoore?
Varian.
Yeah.
Oh no, it's
Wait. Oh, you already said yours.
Kael'thas.
You already said yours. That's my turn as a recovery. That's fine. That's all right.
He got it right.
Of course he did.
Which time? It was the second one.
Telfest.
Because
It was the second
there's
one.
only a
Yeah.
handful
I'm
of
going to
princes
scratch.
in the
I'm
world.
not going to give you any of you points for that one. you
Varian
had two
Rin
answers.
was around, by the way.
Yeah, fair enough.
He was actually the crown prince of Stormwind.
Stormwind, yeah.
Yeah.
Which is always funny to me because in Warcraft 3, Lordaeron's the big thing. They like put Stormwind off to like the side.
All right.
What you got?
Who is the elemental ruler of Earth?
Oh,
Who's his nuts?
yeah. What's his nuts?
The
The elemental ruler.
I don't know that
Earth,
one.
or
That's a
Azeroth.
cataclysm thing.
Hold on now.
I don't know it.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you.
Therazane the Stone Mother.
Nah, yeah, that sounds.
Oh, yeah,
right.
who's
some,
his
some
nuts?
dwarven thing? Again, it's Alliance. We roll horde.
Okay.
Which hero of the Horde met his demise during the Battle of
Grom
Angrathar?
Hellscream.
Yep, I was gonna say Grom Hellscream too. No, say it again. Wait,
Oh, I'm sorry,
My turn. Stop.
Damn it.
Finish it. Finish the question.
The Battle of met his demise during the battle at Angrathar the Wrathgate.
Oh my god, I can see
don't
the
actually
cinematic.
know that
I can see
one.
the cinematic so very clearly in my head because the Forsaken came in and did their job. It was some human knight. I couldn't tell you his name because it's Alliance and I don't care. But I see him.
No.
It's just
Horde.
he said what horde met his
Yeah.
what,
what
hero
horde?
of the Horde? Which hero of the Horde met his demise?
It wasn't it.
I remember the cinematic. I don't remember
Just wait
the guy's
on.
name.
It's coming.
I don't know how
It's-
much of this I'm going to
it's-
cut out. We're going to see because this thinking is funny to me.
Yeah, it's coming here. It's coming. I know
you,
the name.
You gotta leave it.
It's the son.
That's what he said.
It's the son of the right hand man of Thrall.
Who the hell's the right hand man of Thrall?
He's a level 60 character in Classic. He sits right up front.
Ooh,
Why can't I think of it?
you suck.
Because there's like a billion names.
I
That's
know
what-
there is.
Yeah,
and this
I
guy,
barely remember my own name sometimes.
it's right there on the tip of my tongue.
All right, I'm
I
giving
can
you a
see it.
5-second timer and we're done here.
All right, don't
Five.
count. Don't count. I said don't count.
4, 3.
I know it. I know it. I can see it. Go ahead, say
All
it.
right.
I know what it's going to
It's
be.
Sarafang the Younger.
Sarafang,
Damn
the
it.
younger. That's exactly what it's I
Draenosh
couldn't remember
Sarafang.
Sarafang's name. I knew that.
All right, we're just going to go to the first to 6 at this point because
Okay.
we've
Am I
done.
at 5?
You're at 3.
I knew
and-
Sarafang. I could not remember that.
What is the Orcish first name? What is the Orcish first name of the son of Varrock Sarafang? The Orcish
Oh,
first
the
name.
first name of him? I don't know. Because they say Sarafang the Younger. I don't know his name.
Yeah.
God damn you guys! It's Draenosh.
Yeah, I don't know that. Nobody
right.
cares about him enough.
No.
This is an alliance question.
Boo.
There we go.
Actually, hold on. Garrosh. This is a different one.
Garrosh Hellscream.
Garrosh Hellscream used a mana bomb to destroy which alliance city?
Theramore.
Yep.
Yeah, Theramore Isle.
Swish.
Well, Andrew only needs 2 more to take this home.
It was about the Alliance, but it was about the Alliance losing, so I didn't know the answer.
so we
to
know that. It's either going to be Theramore or it's going to be the Night Elf Homeland.
And speaking of Theramore, which faction leader went
Jaina
missing
Proudmoore.
en route to a diplomatic summit at Theramore Isle?
I would like to say it was Jaina Proud.
You're both wrong.
Oh, then it's the King. If it's an Alliance person, it's...
Could you repeat the question?
Which faction leader went missing
Human.
en route to a diplomatic summit at Theramore Isle?
Oh, wait. Faction leader went on a diplomatic mission. It wasn't Vol'jin.
To Alderaan.
To Alderaan.
Cairn Bloodhoof.
Yeah.
Are they alliance?
No.
No.
It's a faction leader on a
Yeah,
diplomatic mission.
you're
So
right.
Karen, he's
No,
the
it's-
Tauren. He dies.
Yeah,
No, he
he
just
does.
dies in combat. He doesn't get...
I don't remember.
I forget who it is.
how-
Varian Rin.
He went missing?
Variant.
Oh.
Or
Yeah, the
Varian.
King of the Humans. That's what
Yeah.
I thought. That's
Okay.
the original
Oh, this
Warcraft
one is going to
hook.
be an easy one.
All right, let's
This
see it.
one is going to be super easy. Which war chief of the Horde
Thrall?
led the orcs from the eastern kingdoms to the continent of Kalimdor?
Yeah, Thrall.
See, I had a great guess, but if I was wrong, I was screwed.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's an easy one.
That
you just
one,
say Orc leader,
that one
Thrall.
even I knew.
Yeah, that's the Warcraft 3 hook, by the way.
And since these are WoW ones, we are going. This one would be a little bit too much. This would be a little bit too much help for Jamie, so I'm going to do this.
Ouch.
He needs the handicap.
That's
It's all
very true.
right.
That's 100% true.
Oh, actually, you're right.
Sylvanas
What are the
Swordrunner.
3 warrior class stances?
Arms, Fury. Oh, stances is battle stance, defensive stance, and berserker stance.
There you go. All right.
I agree.
I almost went into the talents.
All right, back to actual trivia, not WoW related stuff. What was the name of the former leader of the Kirin Tor and husband to Varisa Windrunner? Former leader of Kirin Tor.
Archimedes? What is his name? It's an Arc something. Archidon.
You're thinking of Archimedes?
Was that his name?
I thought so.
No, it's something a little sillier than that. Is that with Nay?
No.
No.
Nope.
Former.
If it
leader.
does, it might be like a title.
Is it? It's not. It's
I don't
not
know that one.
No, former leader of the Korean Tour. If it's not Medivh, what was Medivh's apprentice?
It wasn't Medivh.
No, it's Medivh's apprentice. Khadgar. It was Khadgar.
He was
Ronan.
never the leader of the...
Oh, that's right. He was just like
Ronan?
Yeah.
Oh, I knew the name. I didn't realize he was the leader of the
don't know
Korean
that.
Tour.
I just knew that he was
He was in
high up.
Yeah, he was in one of the lore books.
We're gonna get to 6 at some
What are we
point.
doing, I guess?
All right,
What
here we
is
go.
the name of the zone that goblins reshaped to resemble the symbol of the horde?
Ashira.
Yeah, Ashira.
Is it Ashira?
There's Ashara.
They
but
turned
it-
that useless zone of just a shore into like a goblin sludge factory place.
Mm-hmm.
Who is the king of Gilneas, racial leader of the Worgen?
Oh, come on.
Greymane.
Greymane. Damn it.
Oh, it's all tied up.
Yeah, come on,
It's
he's
all
a Worgen.
tied up.
That's why.
All right. Okay, so this is a horde related question, or I think. Great Father Winter in Ironforge and his counterpart Great Father Winter in Orgrimmar are members of which two races?
Dwarf.
Orc and dwarf.
Andrew wins.
Yeah, there you go.
Yay.
That was awful. That was awful because it's just in Ironforge and in.
Yeah, I was just
Orgrimmar.
thinking about that after.
Yeah.
I just saw Orgrimmar. I'm like, oh, a horde question. And then I didn't read the full thing.
Yeah, I never got too into those Christmas
seasonal
events.
stuff.
the
Yeah, like they have the
seasonal
Hollows and the Halloween one they're doing now too.
So Andrew sneaks away with this win just barely. I feel like I could do a whole episode on this. Like, do a whole, like...
Great.
We
Set-
have literally just gone through those cards.
Oh, yeah, we've gone
Not
through
even
almost every
played
one
the
of these.
game, just gone through the cards.
That's really funny. All right. That will do it for our Warcraft episode. Jamie and Andrew, thank you so much for joining me. We've been going for nearly 2 hours,
God damn.
an hour and 52 currently. But after I edit some of the mistakes out there, we had some technical issues that I'm going to have to edit out. But guys, thank you so much for joining me. This was a lot of fun.
It was
was a lot of
entirely
fun.
my pleasure.
Yeah.
Do you guys? You guys don't really do social media at all, do you? Unless you want to promote anything on social media. Do you have any social medias that you want to give out?
No, sir, I do not.
No, I guess not. I've actually been considering doing like a gaming stream thing because my Steam account's actually like open for people to watch. But yeah, it's okay.
All right. Well, as usual for me, you can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at StillLoadingPod. If you want to email me, stillloadingcontact@gmail.com. If you want to support the show, go to patreon.com/stillloadingpod. Like I said in the 200th episode, I actually revamped all of it. So there is shit there for patrons now. That actually benefits. If you want to support the show, go there, or you can give it a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts or whichever podcasting app you use. And finally, the most important shout out is the Bit by Bit Foundation. The Bit by Bit Foundation is a nonprofit organization whose mission is to put video games and video game consoles in the hands of children receiving inpatient care at hospitals. So if you want to support them, go to bitbybitfoundation.org and consider donating. And that is it. That is, we all made love and not Warcraft. Or I guess we made Warcraft.
We made Warcraft. There was
we
no
made
love
Warcraft over
here.
here.
There was a lot of love with this Warcraft. Let me tell you. But no, you guys, thank you once again for joining me.
Of course.
All right, man. Yeah, absolutely.
And I will see you all next time.
Have a good evening.
Loktar Ogar.